Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan, bringing you a little debate tonight on a few things that I've picked out over the week, like the leading sports psychologist coming out talking a little bit about Tottenham. The stat that's come out about us with our most misplaced passes in our own half. And then a bit on Eric Diers' bizarre comments and Sonny signing a new contract as well, and a little bit on our links with Vestergaard and the news, a bit of news that I've seen today about Tottenham potentially being linked with a loan move for Coutinho. But before we get, I'm joined by special guest tonight, Luke from theirishyid TV, and Will Stewart from Will Stewart THFC Rants. Luke, how are you keeping?
Yeah, all good. Thanks, mate. Really appreciate you having me on. So excited for this one.
Yeah, no problem at all. So am I. Will, how are you keeping, my man?
Doing good. Out and about in the afternoon. That's what happens when we're here in the United States. So hopefully you guys can hear me too well, and I don't make too big of a fool of myself saying that I'm on my phone. So.
No problem at all, Will. You're grand. Don't worry about it, man. Things have to get done. But look, first of all, don't forget to smash a like on the stream. Don't forget to smash a subscribe on the channel. Also, grab a channel membership for our fan phoning show on Friday, every Friday at 9:30. The link for that is in the description box below, along with all the boys' social media and YouTube channels as well. Also, don't be afraid to get your super chats in. They really do help support the channel. And when the chat gets busy as well, it guarantees we stop and discuss your comments. But look, I want to keep my deal with the channel membership, so let's give them all a shout out. We have Arthur Everett, Adam Fox, Spartan 7 Game, and Jordan Stevens, Elliot Walsh, Wayne Bonner, Matthew Collins, Will Stewart, THFC Rants, Brian Daigle, Wayne Winter, Joe Grimes, Premier Hotspur TV, Full of Faladin, Danny Kiriakou, Dolphins Cry, Nathan Callow, Kieran MacDonald, Celery Agent, Bob Spur TV, The BG, TJ Lewis, Kev Williams, Rob C, John McCauley, Clegg UK, Jack Konecki, James Watson, The Smasher, and Mary McGee as well. And let's also welcome a few people into the building. We have Mr. K, big up Mr. K. We have Bob Spur TV. We have Hotspur Hazza. We have The Smasher. We have Cody Mack, big up Cody Mack. And we have Welsh Guy 2014. We have C. We have Paul Brown, big up Paul Brown. We have Kev Murray, big up Kev Murray as well. We also have Brian Daigle in the building, big up Brian Daigle. We have G Mark, and we have Emily Dunn, big up Emily Dunn. But look, we're going to get into it, guys. So look, leading sports psychologist Jeremy Lazarus, who has Premier League players on his books and claims he doesn't know the ins and outs of what is going on at Spurs, although I reckon he does. But he is claiming the Spurs players' fear of public criticism and the fact that it has happened so many times before is what is causing us to throw away leads, and that a lack of motivation or confidence is leading to this. Luke, we're going to go to you first. Do you think Jeremy is on something there? Do you think he could be right?
Potentially, yeah. A lot of Premier League footballers are what you might call prima donnas, right? So they perform well on positive praise and perform badly on negative criticism. Do I think that it's Jose's negative criticism that's making them play badly? Not so much. There could be a combination between negative criticism on social media, negative criticism in the press, negative criticism by pundits, and so on. So yes, of course it could have a negative impact on their playing style. On the flip side of that, having a sports psychologist on your books at a Premier League football club is a huge thing for people because there are huge mental pressures as being a Premier League footballer. So do I think it's, if we're talking about Jose, for example's negative criticism, I don't think it's 100% him, no.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the reason why I don't as well is because, look, it's been the same thing under a couple of managers now where, no matter what the carrot is, what the prize is going into these games, when there's something at stake, we just never seem to be able to get over the line. And look, for me, I think he could be onto something there, Luke, to be honest. But look, do you think, if we bring someone in, do you think it'll change? Like a sports psychologist, because I know under Pochettino, there was talks about them bringing one in, but he decided against it. He decided against it because he thought him and the staff would be able to do it. But do you think maybe it's come to a point where we need to bring someone in, or else just ship out some of these players and throw money at the problem and try and get change and get winners in.
Yeah, there's two questions there, isn't there? Do I think like a sports psychologist would work? 100%. I think any kind of psychologist in any working environment would help you, right? If you could get to the root of your problem as to why certain things are happening, then of course. But at the same time, yes, we do need people who have won things or won trophies to be a part of this squad, which is why they apparently, one of the reasons why they went for Joe Hart, because of his mentality and his winning mentality. Obviously, his goalkeeping ability is not up to standard as being a first-choice goalkeeper, but that was one of the reasons. You saw when he played for England, for example, how loud he was, how much noise he made at the tunnel and the walk out and that kind of thing. In terms of getting a sports psychologist into Spurs, I think it's 100% needed because all the players have the same fear as the fans have being Tottenham fans. That gets passed down from team to team, that Spursy mentality that people like to say. I don't like to use those words, but we have to, right? So, yeah, I think that that somehow is getting passed down from person to person and or teammate to teammate from, whoever was at the club and who now isn't at the club. And it's just something that hangs over Tottenham. And I think 100% it would work. And why not try it? Why not try employing someone on 50, 60 grand a year, or whatever they charge, right? 100 grand a year. I don't know what their salary is compared to 100 grand a week player. And that's only one. You could pay for someone's yearly salary on one weekly wages just from trialing it out for the rest of the season, seeing how you get on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just going to bring Will back in here. I think he's ready to come back. You ready to come back, Will?
Yeah, can you guys hear me all right? Is there still feedback or are we good?
No, that's perfect. We can hear you, Will. We can hear you. So look, were you hear what we were talking about the psychology thing, Will?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it definitely plays into it at some points, but at this point in time, I think for their particular their level, the level that they're playing at now, I don't really think it makes as big of a deal as people say. So I think when you reach this level of play, you really need to, kind of be able to motivate yourself, be in control of your own, mental state. I know even at where my son is right now and the level that he plays, he works a lot on meditation and mindset and all that stuff, even at 13. So I'm sure that these lads have all of that stuff under control. But.
Yeah, no, look. See, for me, look, it's a problem that's been here a while, and look, it needs to be sorted out. For me, look, I think the club should employ someone anyway, but I do think a lot of these players, I do think some of these players have to go. I just don't think they have the mentality, the desire, the commitment to have what it takes to be able to go and win the big things. What do you think on that, Luke?
Yeah, I think you're right, but then we could say this about past groups of players as well, Obviously, I'm a massive Spurs fan, so try not to get me wrong. I'm trying to be, devil's advocate here on both sides. But it's not just this group of players that haven't been able to get over the line. It has happened before. And so I don't think it really matters, though, how much you get paid, what level of professional football you're playing at, or any level of football you're playing at. All of us suffer somewhere, somehow, from some kind of mental insecurities and some kind of fear. So whether we admit it or not, so it wouldn't help. It wouldn't hurt to do it. It wouldn't hurt to get the players in to try and figure out each individual's mindset to then be able to hopefully break some kind of barriers down a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But and Will, look, he says that a lack of motivation. What is it? A lack of motivation or a lack of confidence leads to this. What do you think it is at Tottenham? Do you think it's the lack of confidence or lack of motivation? Oh, well, we'll go to you, Luke.
Right. So I think it is it's going to be, some of it's a lack of motivation, right? Because Jose Mourinho isn't put your arm around your shoulder like a Pochettino was. And some of those players need that. right? Some of those players thrived on that under Pochettino. Dele Alli, for example. I've heard from Harry Redknapp that Gareth Bale also thrives from getting an arm around the shoulder, a kind of friend, more fatherly figure type approach. So yeah, some of it's to do with the the positivity and kind of tactical approach from the manager. So I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, 100%. And what do you think of Dotio Feldman's commentary? He says, what are you talking about with this mentality issue? As we are up against the elite teams every year, whose net spend since 2014 is 300 million plus. Ours is 60 million. We are not big enough, period. What do you make on that comment, Luke?
Nonsense. I think you've seen other clubs pay a lot less money and get incredible performances out of their players. We can't always sit there and say we haven't got the owners of Man City, we haven't got the owners of whoever, and start saying if we had £300 million, we would then win everything. It's a possibility that it would work, okay? But there's let's use Pochettino at PSG, for example. There's no guarantee he's going to win the Champions League this season. So if he does, then that might be a good point. But I also think that you need to deal with what you've got, make shrewd, good business choices. And I think sometimes, we don't make those right choices, and don't make those right signings. It's always a different signing. There's always 2 or 3 options, and we tend to go with the third option rather than the number one choice. Maybe over those periods of Pochettino during the Wembley days when we didn't spend any money, that has had some knock-on effect. So I do agree slightly with that, but I don't think that we have to spend kind of £300 million to win anything or to beat the likes of Newcastle.
Don't you think that it could also be that our recruiting department could do a lot better job with the money that we do have? I think that it's been absolutely shambles. The amount of players that over a simple 5 million here or 10 million there that we haven't gone for, which could have eventually ended up earning us a whole lot more money. I don't think we need to spend a ton of money in order to get good quality players. I mean, look at Leicester and Aston Villa, for example.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think if we look at the likes of Pablo Dybala when that was strongly linked, and far as I'm aware, the only thing that stopped that going through was his, he's got a lot of agent fees and he's owned by 2 separate, agencies and things like that. And there was a lot of money involved. I think, we're talking 40, 50 million pounds. And, we just weren't willing to spend that money. And that was the thing that didn't get it over the line. And I think, that definitely 100%, if we'd spent extra 10, 20 million pounds over some of those signings, we could have got the second or first choice signings rather than, the third choice that we always tend to get.
Yeah, no, 100%. But look, I do think the scouting department could do better in, looking more at the mentality type of player, because you've seen, like all the top clubs do it. They look at the type of mentality of the player, and like you look at Bruno Fernandes, like mentality, a player we missed out on. You know what I mean? Compared to Lo Celso, who's been injured a lot and stuff like that. Like I do think mentality has a lot to come into it. And we have Wesley here as well. Wesley says, this sounds cringe, but the winning mentality is natural in the alpha type players, which more than half of our squad are not. What do you make on that, Will?
No, I mean, I agree 100%. I don't think that right now, I don't think we have hardly any players that are full of man smell. You know what I mean? I don't think we have any players that just exude confidence and have a super strong killer instinct. I think that a lot of our players tend to be, nervous and afraid. And I think that was a problem way before Jose Mourinho came in and started calling people out on it. If anything, I think that he's improved the mentality of a lot of our better players. It's the ones that already had a super weak mentality that have gotten weaker, in my opinion.
No, 100%. And when the same thing keeps happening over and over again, it kind of becomes, it kind of sets into you then. And do you think that's maybe why we're seeing the team drop deeper and deeper as the game goes on, especially when we're winning? Because that mindset, that mentality is kicking in, that if the game is still in the balance, it's kind of like, oh, here we go again.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for me. I mean, I think it's, you get down and you start to get, comfortable in what you're doing, and by the time the end of the game goes, you start making simple mistakes. Then you let in one goal, and that leads to two, and that leads to three. I mean, a mentality shift is a huge part of football, and I think that it's definitely a problem where we have the biggest issue. And I think that that's sad, because I think players playing at this level should be able to center themselves and control their emotions and not be subject to fear, and be able to recover from mistakes, instantly. I mean, that's the sign of a star athlete. It's not about a player who doesn't make mistakes. It's about a player who, when they do make a mistake, can immediately recover their form and go on to the next play or the next ball or the next, set piece.
Oh, you're breaking up there, Will. You're breaking up there. We'll go back to Luke. You're back now. We'll pass it on to Luke. William McKenzie says mentality can be a pack thing. Players need to drop ego for the club, etc. And like, he is right, because you see at most other clubs where Mourinho, it's kind of been like a pack mentality. It's been us versus the outside world, but he doesn't seem to be able to stamp that on these players. Why do you think that is?
It just goes back to my original statement about some of our players are prima donnas. Some people in our squad feel like they are deserved of, first team spots because of what they have done, what their reputation is, who they are, things like that. That's one of the biggest things at the moment, which is why I feel that when Jose Mourinho is attempting to do whatever he's trying to do, players are reluctant to do that. Look at him at Man United with Paul Pogba. Look at him at Tottenham with potentially Dele Alli. These players, in my opinion, have very similar mentalities. They know they're good. They know they're special. And, they should be reaching higher stages of their career than where they are at the moment. So when Jose Mourinho is publicly criticizing people, like in the documentary, like he did with Dele Alli, not playing him in the games, etc., then I can understand how that's then ended up happening. But then on the flip side, look at Tanguy Ndombele. He was publicly criticised by Mourinho when he first took over. During lockdown, he stepped up his training. He's got a lot better. And now Jose Mourinho is doing the opposite of that, and he's publicly praising him. I heard him the other day saying that he's one of the best midfielders, or could be one of the best midfielders in the world. So it happens both ways. It's just about how mentally strong people are. And I think that some of our players are mentally strong, but only when they get that public praise as opposed to the criticism.
Yeah, no, 100%. Welcome, Sean, to the stream. Big up, Sean. Thanks for coming on, my man. Really do appreciate it. So, Sean, look, we're just talking about a bit about the psychology. And basically, I was saying that a leading psychologist reckons that, because it keeps happening to Tottenham, and maybe due to a lack of motivation and confidence, that, we keep conceding the goals in the last 10 minutes and costing us points. What do you make on it? Do you think psychology is playing a part in us dropping all these points from winning positions, especially conceding in the last 15 minutes of games?
Look, I think it is a bit of a possibility. For me, though, I don't think you can kind of blame mentality on it. I think it's down to the desire that the players have for what they want to achieve. I think a lot of them have. We've seen it time and time again. You don't see them tracking back. You can see it clearly against Newcastle when we had the second goal conceded against. Like, watching it back, you see Lo Celso not tracking back and Lamela not tracking back. And I think a lot of it actually just comes down to pure desire. So for me, every player, we're all only human, and there is going to be times where our mental state is going to affect the way we play, but not in the sense as to how much we've been conceding, giving away possession and dropping off goals and stuff. I think that just comes down to pure desire.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. And Dazzy Jazzy says here, not a ruthless streak at this club. We're way too nice, which is why no one fears us. And I do think that has a part to play in it, to be honest, because the fear of public criticism and their desire to be liked. I do think that, they are not, like, we're not nasty enough to win things. You know what I mean? We're too sportsman-like. We need to be nasty. We need to do the nitty-gritty side of the game. Like Jose said when he first came in, we need to be bastards. You know what I mean? And look, I just don't think this current crop of players has it. And look, if Mourinho can't install what he's installed at every other club, this us versus the outside world mentality, I do believe we do need to start getting a psychologist in, as well as rotating some of these players. So a psychologist would be a good thing to look at in the summer. But lads, one thing another thing I want to get onto is Spurs lead the way for misplaced passes in our own half, with 911 misplaced passes in our own half. I'm going to start with you, Luke. Is this a formation and system issue and a failure on Jose that he needs to fix?
I think, again, I'm going to sit on the fence on a lot of these questions. I do think it's both. Look at the players that we have in midfield, right? Harry Winks, Moussa Sissoko, just to name two midfield players. Neither of them, in my opinion, are good or excellent ball-playing midfielders. When you look at, even Dele Alli, when he tries his flicks, his tricks, every pass that it has ever made in the Spurs game, it's painful to watch. It's always behind the player. It's never to where you should do. You watch the top teams, the ball is always ahead of the player so that you can push, everybody forward. So I think some of it comes down to whether the players really understand exactly what the tactics are in terms of how to play defensively on the counter-attack, as opposed to everybody's natural instinct is to always obviously go forward, look to score. But I also don't think it helps. Don't get me wrong. I like what Winks and Sissoko have done for the club, but in my opinion, they're not good enough ball-playing midfielders to help us in that scenario. Also, Eric Lamela is a good footballer, but he's not an excellent footballer. Look at the Newcastle game when he had two options, either Son or Kane, chose neither, lost the ball.
Yeah. No, look, I don't know. It's not good enough. But lads, we have we have a super chat from Jordan Stevens. I'm going to get onto that, and then I'm going to pass the question on to Will. Then, Harry Winks. Anthony says Harry Winks is a championship player at best. He is another Vinny Samways. We have Jordan Stevens. He says combined players who have been at this club for years and bottled numerous important games and players with pure lack of talent. It's a recipe for disaster. No, 100%. I fully agree with that comment. Players that have been here for years, and been on the fringes for almost years up until, we've kind of lost our best players and we've just kept them, and then players with pure lack of talent. I fully agree with you, Jordan. Sean, what do you think on Jordan's super chat there?
Yeah, I mean, look, it is a perfect. I think he described it very well. A recipe for disaster. I mean, that is what happens when you're playing with fire, with stuff like that, and it can be pure toxic. So it can.
No, 100%. And big up Jordan Stevens for the super chat, my man. Really do appreciate it. Everyone else, of course, get your super chats in. Let us know what you think on the psychology of this on the team. Let us know what you think of this the start on the misplaced passes. But Sean, also, what do you think? Like I was saying, is it a formation and a system issue, or a failure of Jose that he needs to fix?
Look, my opinion on it, and it is just my own opinion, is that it's not anything to do with Jose. I feel that just our players aren't good enough. You've seen what our backline is like. What everybody says week in, week out, what Doherty's like, that Diers no good. Sanchez, I mean, yeah, he has a good game every now and again. Same with Aurier, he hits the spot every now and again as well. The players just don't have that top level of quality, and you can see that with their passing stats. It's there in our own half. Anything like that, it's just down to pure talent. I don't think it's anything to do with Jose. Jose can't teach them how to pass. If you don't know how to pass at this stage, like, what are you even doing on the football pitch?
No, 100%, 100%. Will, are you back with us?
Yeah, the audio is cracking back here pretty good, so I figured if I unmuted myself, it would be a disaster. So I wanted to make sure that I had some the quality signal and a little bit of quiet to help you out.
No. You're all good. So come here. I hope you were listening to what we were saying. So, like I was saying, is that stat down to a formation and a system issue and a failure on Jose that he needs to fix?
No, I don't think it's necessarily a failure on the Jose side of it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're talking about us losing possession in the midfield, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's basically it's more of everybody's issue because, like, you know, misplaced passes in our own half. Look, you can say a lot of that is defenders, you know, but midfielders and our attacking players, obviously, they do have a part to play as well.
But no, it's a huge part of the midfield. Like I said, against the Newcastle game, our three midfielders combined lost possession 36 times. So it's definitely plays a role for the midfield. You know, Lo Celso and Ndombele and even Højbjerg over the last couple of matches has been averaging, you know, losing possession between 7 and 15 times a match, which if you're a number 6 is pretty bad. That means you're giving away the ball away and you're doing defensive third. And I'm sure the defender stats are close up to that. I mean, you know, keeping possession, you know, for no reason isn't good either, but you need to be able to take risks and also complete a majority of your passes. And if you're going to give position away, it needs to be higher up the pitch, not in your own defensive third, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But look, is this, I'll go back to you, Luke, is this a quality, a competence and a composure problem? And is it a problem we just have to throw money at to fix, really?
Sort of. Like, as Sean said, if you can't pass the ball now, like, what are you doing? You know, at what stage in your career you're at where you can't complete, you know, basic passes. I think that some of our players have a decent amount of quality, but I also do think it's combined with a mentality thing. You know, when they need to make that crucial pass, maybe something goes in their mind where they cannot make, you know, that pass, or they choose the wrong option from that pass. You know, look at what the goal that we conceded against Newcastle. You know, 3 or 4 times we had a chance to be able to clear the ball, pass the ball away. Sanchez had a chance. Højbjerg had a chance to intercept. But we just never managed to get the right pass. And so are those players competent at getting the ball out from the back against a really weak Newcastle side? Yes, 100%. So there has to be some combination also with, you know, with that mentality of it, because, you know, you look at the likes of Liverpool, Man City, let's talk about them. The way that they pass the ball, you know, and I talked about it before, is passing the ball in front of the player so they have the ability to be able to press and progress on the counter-attack or the attack. Every time you watch Spurs, the ball is played behind the player. It's sideways, it's backwards. It's not, you know, forward-thinking pass. So I think it has to be a combination of those things. I think we have some quality in our midfield. You know, I think Lo Celso has quality. I think Ndombele has quality. I think Højbjerg has quality. He has the right mentality. But it's combining all of those, you know, key factors together. You know, Harry Kane has an incredible passing range. And Harry Kane wasn't always, as far as I'm aware, you know, a huge personality, a huge, strong figure. He taught himself that, and he progressed his own career because he knew in his mind where he could be and where he wanted to be in his life. And you look at what he's doing now.
Yeah, no, 100%. Look, and I'll pass it on to you. Same for you, Sean.
Look, I mean, it is what it is. I do feel like that we need to invest in quality. It does seem like that there, you know, obviously we do. We have the likes of Skip, looks so promising coming up. I think he'd be a great addition to the squad next season. But as far as top quality goes for the immediate future, I do think we need to throw some money at it now at this stage. We've tried throwing little bits of money at it, but look, it's a fucking joke. Throwing little bits of money at it, you might as well just be shitting on the fence, really. You're not doing anything there. So it's proved, the proof is there. It's not working. I think we do need to start throwing some real money at it now and try to make a big difference and hopefully come out on top then next season.
No, look, I agree. Look, for me, you know, there's only so much you can coach players to do. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's when you're in the pressure cooker, you know what I mean? It's how you handle that situation. You can do everything you want in training when there's no pressure. But when the pressure is on, that's when the time is to deliver. And for me, when you have two coaches with two different mentalities, two different way of managing, two different way of coaching, two different ways of playing football, and you're still seeing the same results, for me, I think it's inevitable. I think you're just going to have to throw the money at it. You know what I mean? I don't see what other change you can do that's going to get any better out of players. Basically, panicking. You know what I mean? I do think it's a psychological problem.
100%.
And a barrier that these players just can't get over as well. Because for me, look, we've heard Jose say time and time again, lads, that I'm not telling them to sit back. I'm not telling them to sit back. And the fact that, for me, when we're winning and we're going into the second half and the more the game goes on, players get nervous, they're giving away stupid passes, they're doing stupid mistakes, which means then we're relinquishing possession to the opposition. The opposition have the ball, we're chasing them for it. And then, we're sitting deeper and deeper. The opposition just keep peppering us with balls into the box. And all we're doing then is we're just in clearance mode where we can't even get hold of the ball. We're just panicking. We're swinging boots at it. We're clearing it. Like Davidson Sanchez at one stage against Newcastle. He done a big, massive Gary Owen. You know what I mean? I couldn't believe what he was doing. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then eventually then, when with the mindset kicking in, the lack of the composure, the lack of quality, the lack of leadership, and someone saying, lads, get yourself together. Grab your balls and let's take this game by the scruff of the neck. Let's get stuck into it. A bit of composure. You don't hear anyone shouting at anyone for just kicking away a ball. You know what I mean? It's all, just turn around, we'll go and chase it. You never hear anyone saying, look, take your time. Just do the basics right. And for me, do you think a lot of that, is a reason why it appears that it's a tactic that we're sitting back, but it's not actually a tactic. They are told, but just the nerves and everything else are getting to them, and that they're just falling deeper and deeper, and with the lack of leaders telling us to get out. And I think, the games are just panning out that way, rather than it actually being a tactic. What do you think, Luke?
Yeah, I think it's, again, there may be two parts to this. So I know, everybody knows that Jose Mourinho loves to win 1-0. That's like his favorite thing to do, is get through a game, don't concede, keep a clean sheet, win 1-0. Some managers prefer to win 4-3, in an epic outscoring your opponent style match. So I think there is, at some point, we have been told to, sit a bit deeper, to be able to control the game and be able to just see the play out, make simple passes. And if we can then score and make it 2, great. I think that the players' mentality and composure on the ball isn't good enough, which is then leading us to making those mistakes, which is then leading to us conceding late goals. So I think Jose Mourinho plays a dangerous game, because when he plays a tactic like that, it's very difficult to, produce an incredible performance where you can see it out. I'll always remember his Inter Milan team against Barcelona when they went down to 10 men and they effectively just saw the game out in unbelievable style in the Champions League. But not everybody has that composure on the ball and that ability. Some of it's to do with young players. Davidson Sanchez still isn't that old, in terms of footballing age. And I can understand why.
23, 24?
24, I think, yeah. So,
come on, he's a man.
Mate, I don't know what I was doing at 24, but I didn't have that kind of pressure on my shoulders. But anyway, I think... It shouldn't
be a pressure. It should be a joy to play football as a professional.
It should do. But I think there's a combination between that and, maybe he's another one that has that lack of mental strength, that needs that arm over the shoulder when you make a mistake, rather than, a hounding by the manager in the public eye, which a lot of people do get. So, sorry, I've kind of got off topic there, but
no, go on.
I think it's lack of ability mixed with, do the players know exactly what the tactic is? Do they know when to sit deep, and do they know when to push and hit the team and score? They seem to know how to do that when we played Man United last time at Old Trafford and beat them 6-1. They knew when to kill the game off. Against Southampton when we scored 5, they knew how to kill that game off. They knew how to be able to switch into that kind of real badass mode and score and outscore the opponent and be able to kill them off. Otherwise, it seems to have, again, we just go back to Newcastle. In my mind, and I don't know how the players don't do this, but in my mind, I just replay it over and over again. Eric Lamela there, there's one defender and there's Son and Kane either side of him, yet he makes 0 passes, plays neither one of them in. And that cost us the game in my eyes. Because at that point, it's 2-1.
Surely that's on him, though. Like, the guy's been playing football since he's a wee kid. You know what I mean? He doesn't need a manager to tell him what decision to make on the field.
No, 100%. 100%. He should know. But again, what somebody would be able to realize is they would be able to realize what's going through his mind at that moment in time. Is he thinking, I don't want to make the wrong pass and get slandered for it? And by the time he's thought that through in his mind, it's too late. It needs to be instinct, and it needs to be that says to me lack of mental awareness. That there's too much going through his brain at that moment in time to be able to make make that pass. And by that point, the time has gone. You've only got a split second to be able to make that decision. The easiest pass for me is play it to Kane. He'll find Son if you don't think you can find him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No. I agree there. Sean, what do you make?
Look, for me anyway, I think a lot of it is to do with a lack of confidence in our own defence. I think I've noticed that there has been a lot of shaky boots out there since Vertonghen went. I don't think anybody's really stepped in to fill that void and showed great confidence and ability in what he was able to do in terms of matching them. So effectively, I think a lot of the time it could be, maybe we're not good enough at the backs to pass it around like what we used to be when it was Toby and Jan. And now it's Toby and Rodon, or it's Toby and Tanganga sometimes, or it's Toby and Sanchez, or it might be Dier and Toby. And we've seen what Dier's like. My own granny wouldn't even have confidence in the man back there, and she knows nothing about football. But for me, it's down to the way other players are looking at the other players as well. Like, to touch on what Luke was saying there about, having the ability and the awareness of knowing where the teammates are, and like what happened when we beat United 6-1. Like, the guys know how to play. So for me, it's beyond a tactical thing. They've all been playing football for that long. They should know their roles. If they don't know the role that they're supposed to be playing, then they shouldn't be playing football, or they shouldn't be playing in that role. Maybe it's time to move on. Maybe it's time to clear out. Like, it's effectively, at the end of the day, you either know how to play football or you don't. Like, with Lamella's decision, who to pass it to, going through that all in your mind, don't start the man. Don't play the man. If he's incapable of making a decision as simple as, who do I pass it to? Okay, look, right, I don't have time. Man, just pass the fucking ball. That's what you do with football. That's what you're taught. You're taught from day one is pass the ball, not hold on to the ball, lose possession, and then cost your team possession, and as well maybe even conceding a goal from it. Because like that, if you say you're taught as well from a young age, like, if the other team don't have the ball, they can't score. So how valuable possession is, you're taught that too. If you can't make the decisions, we're seeing it week in, week out, and I love seeing what's happened with Trent Alexander-Arnold. He is having a mare, man, and I love it just watching him. Well, like that, why is he playing them again? Do you know what I mean? It's simple decisions that you have to be able to make that are key for winning a game and retaining possession. Like, you should know what you're at. Simple.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Moments like that, look, it's beyond coaching. I did see some people blaming, it's they're not being taught patterns of play, this, that, and the other. I'm sorry, but when you're 3-on-1, I'm sorry, no pattern of play should be telling you whether to pass left or right. And then there was another case where he just completely ignored Ndombele outside him as well. You know what I mean? And it's just not good enough. And for me, look, I agree, lads. I think it's a quality issue. I think it's a psychological issue. I don't think it's I think it's gone beyond a tactical issue there, to be honest with you. Things like that, like especially some of the mistakes you're making at the back and stuff like that, it's just like, our main problem is that we just do not have a settled back four who you can rely on. You know what I mean? We don't have that centre-back partnership who you can rely on. We have a right back who gets spun every week. We've had a bit of up and down with Reguilon this season, and we've had to rely on Ben Davies a lot. Again, when he plays, we get spun. And for me, I'm sorry to say it, but the only way out of this, look, you can bring in a psychologist, you can bring in a new manager, everything else. You know what I mean? But you're going to have to put money at the problem and just rotate the squad, in my opinion. I think it's gone too stale, everything. Down to, just down to everything. Like, some of these players were complaining under Pochettino, complaining now, you know what I mean, and this, that, and the other. And for me, I just think it's time to get the bag eggs, the weak people, the losers out of the dressing room. We have a comment here from London One. He says, do you think Sanchez could be good with a real commanding centre-back? He was immense the first season next to Jan. Do you remember the Madrid game? He was unreal. I get he's been shocking, though. Look, for me, I want Sanchez. I just don't think he's good enough. For me, look, he can play 3 good games and then he's going to play 3 shockers and have an absolute mare. You know what I mean? Look, let's not hide away from the fact he was a lot at fault for the game against Newcastle. Some of the stuff he was doing as a centre-back, it's unforgivable back there. But what do you think, Luke?
Yeah, I do agree with you on that. I weirdly, like, as Spurs fans, we have an affection to certain players for absolutely no reason, right? There's always somebody in that squad that you do like and you've no idea why, and that's Davidson Sanchez for me. I don't know why. I don't think he should play, but I don't also want him to go because it's weird. I don't know. I think I agree with that. There were some games that he has played in where he's been absolutely incredible, but you're 100% correct. Let's look at the equalizing goal for Newcastle. He effectively rugby tackles Rodon on the goal line, which allows Willock, I think it is, at the back post to then end up scoring. It's just, honestly, it's madness. Like, they're both going for the same ball, which is going over their head. The issue for me with Sanchez is when he's running backwards, he just falls over all the time. He has no spatial awareness. And yeah, I do agree with you. I think he potentially could be good with another centre-back, but I think it's too late down the road for that. He's made too many mistakes, and it's too much of an issue now to try and get him back from that.
No, 100%. What do you think on that, Sean?
I have a little bit of a saying about it. And to be fair, I think if you have a piece of gold like Jan and a piece of shit like Sanchez, the shininess of that gold is going to reflect onto that piece of shit. And sometimes you might think that piece of shit is nice and shiny and good, but realistically, at the end of the day, it's still shit. And I just don't think he's good enough, man. Like, I've even had countless discussions with you about this, David, as well.
Yeah.
I've never seen a centre-back have the ball bounce over his head as much as he has. I think he's afraid to header the ball. He just doesn't have that desire. You have to be willing to be able to read the play, man. That's the key thing. As a centre-back, you are the last line of defence. If you have a sweeper in behind you, you're blessed if you have a good one. But I just don't think he has what it takes to be in our club. I just don't think he's anywhere near good enough, and he has to go for me. He has to go.
Yeah, no, look, I agree. Look, the problem is with him, he cannot pass a ball. Honestly, every time he got the ball against Newcastle, he could not wait to get rid of. He could not wait to get rid of it. He was in such a panic. Too many times I've seen him commit the same errors. Balls over his head. He may as well be in Disneyland because the guy doesn't know where he is. You know what I mean? It's shocking. And then... it's just his lack of awareness as well. It really does piss me off. And as a centre-back, you can't afford to have it. And for me, look, he's 24 now. I get, players' peak years are coming up and this, that, and the other. But how long are we going to keep hold of a player who has potential? 24 years of age. I'm sorry. You either start fulfilling your potential or you don't. And for me, he hasn't. For me, I definitely think if an offer comes in, I would 100% take it. I really would. Lads, I want to move on to Michel Vorm's comments. Of course, Michel Vorm, a former player, he was in the squad last year. So it's very interesting to listen to what he has to say. Basically, look, he says, he says basically that, where is it? So the defenders are not good quality-wise, but with attacking players we should be playing better football. With the stat we just spoke about, is it hard to play a better football with the defenders who can't pass the ball?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Because how do you feed the attackers to be able to then progress? It's not just about giving the ball to, Harry Kane, Lo Celso, Lucas Moura, Heung-min Son, whoever it is, right, at the halfway line and saying, off you go, go and score. But it's about, the team playing. And if the balls from the defense aren't good enough, that's how you are able to counter teams. That's how you're able to attack with real impotence. When you play the ball out from the back with conviction, when the ball, I said it earlier, probably 3 or 4 times now, when the ball is played behind Lucas Moura, how is he meant to use his speed and his acceleration to get away from players and then play in the likes of Son, Kane, whoever it may be? So I think, it's all good and well, Michel Vorm saying that, that the defense isn't good enough. Great. But when he was in goal, the goalkeeping wasn't good enough. So,
and Sean, we'll go to you, and then we'll take Jack Kanicki's super chat. By the way, everybody else, get your super chats in if you're joining the stream. Let us know, about what we've spoke about so far. The stat with us giving away the most passes in our own half. It's suicidal. Whether you think it is actually tactical, it's a Jose tactic that we're sitting back, or it's stuff like that, and the psychological issue that we were talking about that is leading to that, and it's not actually a tactic. And that Jose is right about what he's saying in the press, that he's not telling them to do that. Get your super chats in and let me know your thoughts. But Sean, we'll go to you next, and then we'll take Jack's super chat.
I think there's a lot to take from what Vorm says, being honest with you, lads, because the goalkeeper sees everything. He has full view of that pitch. He can see what's in front of him.
You're a wise man, Sean. You're a wise man. That's true. Great
wizard, man. Wizard. So, look, I mean, and I think a lot of the times it is easy to criticize a keeper, like what Luke's saying about, the goalkeeping wasn't good enough. I mean, it's hard to look good when you have a pretty bad defense in front of you at times as well. So, you can become under pressure. And a lot of times, if you look at it, that's why I rate, I'd rate, Brighton keepers and, the likes of Sunderland keepers, all the type of lower class teams that you see would be getting rained down on week in, week out. You look at City and the boy, even I know Liverpool aren't great now, but you see how many shots per games that keepers have and who has to make more saves. You could say De Gea would be one of the best keepers out there, but he might only have to make 3 saves a game. But if you look at Verm last season, he could have had 20 shots per game on him, and he might have conceded 2 goals. So technically, for saves per game and all, he would be better rated. But it just depends on what you have in front of you. So for me, I mean, a lot of times, you can have your stupid chances that are just dropping the ball in front of you and strikers coming in, all that. But for me, I think what he did say is quite wise, because he can see the whole lot. So look, I mean, when you have a strike force like what we have, the ability to go out and score goals, that's great. But I do think you need to have a better defense there in front of you, because you can score as many goals as you want, but if you keep conceding more than what you're scoring, the points aren't just going to add up.
No, 100%. And sorry, quickly, I just want to say a big happy birthday to Ellie. A big shout out to Ellie. Happy birthday. Everybody else, wish her a happy birthday. And all you Harris Army in the chat, wish her a happy birthday. But no, look, I agree with you. That's a great saying, Sean. Vorm, he sees everything in front of him, And for me, look, I think there's relevance to what he says, that, the defenders are not good enough. They're not of high enough quality. But then I don't get the comment that, I can get it, him saying that, we do have looking from the outside in, you have a better squad to be playing better football. But ultimately, if your defenders are shit and you're trying to play out from the back and you're trying to get this passing game going and your defenders can't get the ball to midfield, which means you can't get it up to your danger men, well then, you know what I mean? For me, I do think I don't know how he can say that then. Because for me, if our defenders can't pass the ball, how can he come out and say we should be playing better football? I do think people underestimate how important a back four is. I just want, you know what I mean? I do think people underestimate that. Another thing I want to ask you, Luke, is, Jack's super chat, lads. Sorry, just get to Jack's super chat here. Jack says, is Toby the only centre-back we have comfortable in possession? How vital is it that the centre-back we sign is quality and confident in possession. We'll give that to you there, Luke, first.
Yeah, I think Toby has been comfortable in possession. I think this season he has lacked a little bit of that composure in possession and the ability to play the ball out from the back. I think Rodon is quite comfortable in possession. It's going to sound like a mad thing to say, but at times, because of Eric Dier previously being a defensive midfielder, he, I think, is comfortable in possession. When he makes those runs coming out of defense, plays the ball off, looks for the 1-2, that kind of thing. It's just his defending that is abysmal. So I think going to the end of that, it's incredibly vital that we have a centre-back who is confident in possession, 100%. What's the point in being a centre-back in 10, 15 years ago? Fine. Role of the centre-back was completely different. Clear the ball any way that you can. Now football has changed massively. Now it's all about, who can play the ball. It's very easy for a team to defend when they're structured, right? When they're structured 4-4-2 or 4-3-3, however it might be, right? So when we're trying to break a team down, if we have the ability to be able to play out from the back quickly and get behind that formation so they're not ready to set up in that, let's say, 4-4-2 or whatever, then it's much easier to score and it's much easier to get in behind and get your attacking players in. So, yeah, of course, if you have confident centre-backs in possession, 100% it's going to be beneficial.
No, 100%. Look, I fully agree with you, Jack. Look, with Toby, if teams try to press us, we just put a quick ball in behind. Not only that, he can spray it left, he can spray it right. He's comfortable to take the ball in. He's comfortable to give it into the lads in the middle as well. He's comfortable to receive it again. And you don't see that with any of the other centre-backs, in my opinion, at our team. So I do think it's absolutely crucial. I think it's crucial to any team, not just Tottenham. But it's crucial to any team to have that centre-back who can play balls. You see in United, they scored tonight. Straight long ball, straight over the top of a team of Granada tonight. You know what I mean? And got the rewards for it. So it is crucial to have that, what I would say like a quarterback, sort of like in American football, where they can see everything in front of them and make the best decision. And start attacks, this, that, and the other. So I do think it's crucial. Welcome back, Will. Will, have you anything to add to what we were talking about?
Yeah, no, I was listening the whole time. I was just, be honestly, I probably should have done that from the beginning. I would have been home quicker, but the wife, she just got her second COVID shot today, and it's kind of kicking her butt. So I had to stop at the pharmacy and grab some medication.
No worries at all.
But yeah, they had. I just think that they're, as far as center backs are concerned, as far as them giving the ball away, and the earlier comment that we were talking just before this about, with our defense, with Michelle Vorm's words, with our defense, with our offense, we should be still putting games away. That's true. But if you've noticed, a lot of the passes, it's that second pass. It's the pass from the back line into the midfield. And then it's that pass there from the midfield up to the attacking players that is really starting to break down. And I've done an analysis before that if you look at the first 10 to 12 games of the season and you look at our overall passing accuracy as a squad, it's usually like 85% plus when we had that good run of games and form. But now, recently, in the games that we've lost and that we've given up points, that's dropping down to 70 to 65%. And I think that a lot of the passes, especially coming out of the midfield and or when the back line is up a little bit higher in the pitch and they're making long balls, to Sonny making a run or to somebody or to Kane, that they're sloppy. They're really sloppy, and those long ball passes are really not connecting a whole lot. And I think that it's better to keep the ball, play it around a little bit in the back before making a pass into the front that you're just going to give it back to the opposition. And two, I think also if you watch, there's not a lot of people in the midfield in the defensive transition who are willing to put a body on somebody and get touch tight. Is that a phrase that you guys use over there? Is that an American term?
Yeah, touch tight. Mark him. So even if he goes to the toilet, you have to follow him. That's what we say.
Yeah, so we say touch tight means with you're able to touch him, right? So you could touch him if you want to, but it seems like a lot of people are just giving everybody a yard and a half of space, which I don't understand. With especially Højbjerg recently has been doing that a lot. Harry Winks is notorious for running alongside players instead of putting a shoulder on them. Just other stuff like that. And I just, somebody asked me one time in one of my streams, what did I think the most important position is nowadays? And I said all of them, because in the modern game, you can't have a weak player in any position really nowadays. Otherwise, it causes because modern football is so dependent on linkage, right? Linking play together in order to move and transition both offensively and defensively. It really, if you have one player who's just, a waste of space, you really can't make up for it anymore. Whereas, as I would say, probably 20, 30 years ago, that probably wasn't the case. You could get away with having, one or two superstars on a team and being able to grind out results and, carry the team on your back and stuff like that. But, and it's also too the quality of passes. Are you making passes that set people up for success, or are you playing balls into people that immediately have two guys on their back? I mean, it's definitely a quality issue. I don't think of it being a tactic issue at all. So that's for me catching up on what I missed.
Yeah. No, 100% will. But lads, how do you think Jose can rectify this problem between now and the end of the season? We'll start with you, Luke, and we'll work our way around. But how do you think Jose can rectify these misplaced passes, get them cut out? You know what I mean? Is it maybe going a bit longer with the ball? Is it playing more of a long ball style to now and the end of the season and try and play off breaking ball up in their half? How do we sort it out?
No, I think long ball football would kill me. If I had to watch long ball football for 90 minutes, I'd just turn it off, because I'm not interested in long ball football. Yes, Toby has an incredible ability to play, and I always remember him, being able to pick out Dele Alli, pick out Son, making those runs in behind. And it's incredible, but that only works a few times. Once you do a few of those balls and you concede, or we have a few chances from it, teams realize that and drop back in defensive shape, or of the ability to track runners more. So that wouldn't work. I think, I'll try and have a very simple answer so I don't go on for too long. But in my opinion, it's just a matter of looking at those players who constantly, all their stats in training, in matches, are all monitored, right? All the time. It's just about playing the players who are the most consistent at, pass completion. It's got to be, because if they're not consistently doing it, making passes, then how can they, sit there and be in the squad? I think it needs a shake-up. These last two games, maybe the tactics haven't been right in terms of playing, two up top, or however you want to look at the formation with Vinicius and Kane. But I think it needed to happen after the disaster of Zagreb. So there has to be something along those lines in my eyes till the end of the season to try and really push for that top four. There has to be some form of shake-up to say, this is who I'm going to go with. This is who I'm going to attempt. These are the people that fight for the place. These are the people that fight in training every single day, because he sees it all. The stats people see it all. So there's got to be, in my eyes, something like that till the end of the season to get us through, because that's the only way we're going to beat City in that Carabao Cup final. And that's the only way we're going to make it to the top four, which I do think we will do.
I still think we'll make top four as well. Look, it wouldn't surprise me if we bet United this weekend. It really wouldn't after that Newcastle game. Look, good point on the Carabao Cup final as well, because, if we give away sloppy passes like that in the Carabao Cup final, we're going to be absolutely killed. We got away with it in the Champions League's quarter final there a couple of years ago with Christian Eriksen. You know what I mean? But we're going to be absolutely slammed. But Sean, what do you think on that situation? How do we fix it? What does Jose have to do?
I think a lot of it does come down to like what Luke's saying about stats and all. But again, you look at, we've seen the defensive quality and desire that Rodon's had. We've seen him, snippets of him when he is playing. I think we're going to see him feature an awful lot more, and it would be nice to see him in beside Toby as well. I think Toby would be able to guide him and just like see it through. I think that would be key, is to have Toby and Rodon in there week in, week out, just to see it through until the end of the season anyway. Again, I think throwing in Tanganga more at right back, I feel that would just kind of solid it up again. Doherty hasn't been great, and Serge Aurier, again, what he's like. He can be a loose cannon at sometimes. When you want him to to relax, he comes in all guns blazing and just cleans everyone out of it, even his own players, the whole lot. He's just a calamity, that man. So I can't understand how he's getting picked again. So I think if we had Tanganga at right back and then we had Roden and Toby as centre backs, Reggie out on the left, I think that would breathe a bit more confidence into the team.
Yeah.
And just to be able to get settled on it and retain possession more. And like that, having Højbjerg there sitting in front of them as well would just really sew it up. I think that would definitely help us big ways throughout the rest of the season.
I think, to jump on that, sorry guys, I think you've made a really good point about Tanganga at right back, because what that means, right, is that Reggie can do what he does best, which is go forward, right? He's a good defender, but he's not the best defender, right? So he has the ability then to push forward on the left-hand side. Tanganga then could then slot in to make a back three. And with Højbjerg there, worst case scenario, we've got a back three with one in front, effectively 4 defensive style players, while Reguilon comes back to then slot into that back four. It has that fluidity to it, I think, that having Serge Aurier as a right back doesn't give us, because when he goes forward and Reguilon goes forward, we're left with 2 at the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. Just a super chat here from Spandan Samaran. He says Man City checks passing capability for goalkeeper before. Man City checks passing capability of the goalkeeper before buying him. Yeah, no, 100% they do, because look, Pep Guardiola, he's not stupid. You know what I mean? He knows with teams when they try and press up on City to try and get the passing game, Ederson can just go long. So it's smart in a way, and of course, it helps with his distribution. He can mix it up. He can go long. He can go short, and it usually ends up at the player's feet. But big up Spandan Samaran. Also, everybody else, get your super chats in. Help support the channel. It really does help the channel grow and take the Irish Hotspur to the very, very top. But we're going to get your opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that probably the biggest problem that we've had is that we've been trying to play the long ball game for most of the season, and when that's not on, it's really causing us a lot of problems, because the teams that we're playing against are counterattacking us right back, and we're not able to cover that transition. So what I think needs to happen in order for us to kind of shore up the rest of the season is to maybe play a little bit more possession-based football for the rest of the year. Try to increase our pass rate. I mean, we're talking about a midfield pass rate that's less than 100. So I think that's pretty small for someone that's for a team that's trying to keep possession of the ball. I mean, you look at Manchester City, and they've passed the ball probably a good 100 times before they even take a shot on goal. So I think that slowing down the game a little bit more, and trying to not necessarily play out of the back per se, but I think what happens is that when you send half of your team out to counterattack, and then the back half isn't performing well, you have such a huge gap between your front and your back lines, where I would say that it's really hurting us, I think. And I'm not talking about setting back or playing a low block, but I'm talking about playing a little bit more of a forward press, a little more possession based style of football. And I think that if we can, kind of like what we did under Pochettino at times, and if we could do that for the last 8 games, I think we have a better chance of not necessarily conceding as many ridiculous goals off of simple mistakes. And 2, start playing safe, a little bit smarter and safe. Like, for instance, Sanchez, why didn't you just kick that ball out for a throw-in? I mean, why take the risk of trying to kick a long ball up the side? I mean, 99.9% of the time, that's going to be a turnover anyway, regardless of if it could clear that man, right there just outside the 18-yard box. Why not just play the ball out and then set up, let people get set, defend it, then work the ball out, right? And then you can find a better option. There's no sense in taking, it reminded me a lot of like how a lot of teams play here in the United States. And that really, really infuriates me. It makes me absolutely mad when I go to a youth game for my son and half of his team, instead of actually playing passes, 2 people to individuals, are just lopping the ball up there to nothingness, because it really doesn't do anything except turn the ball over. So I think we have to just be more possession minded. I think if we can, keep possession, play a simple pass back, try to, work on passing triangles, work the ball around the pitch a little bit more, and then hit people. Once there's nothing wrong with playing both a, counter-attacking style possession-based hybrid where you pass the ball around until you see a run open up, and then you play it in over the top. But right now, there's just a huge gap between our front three and our back four that's really putting a lot of pressure on our midfield. And when they were in form and they were doing good, it was something that was okay. But right now, it's killing us.
Yeah, no, it is. It's absolutely killing us. Look, for me, I would actually look, for me, what Jose needs to do is just play Toby and Roden as a centre-back partnership. Play, for me, Reguilon at left-back, 1,000%. I don't want to see Mr. Anonymous anymore. And then I agree with William McKenzie here, right-back. He says, Aurier ain't much better than Tanganga. Rather, Tanganga, Tanganga, he's a utility player. He would gain a lot learning at right-back as well. And 100% I agree with you, man. Look, I would play Tanganga at right back. For me, look, Aurier, he doesn't die for the cause. When he walked off at half that time and went and sat on the team bus, that just shows me. And we don't need personalities like that in the dressing room. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, just start playing football. Just start doing what you're paid to do. Defend properly. Be the modern day fullback. Take control on the ball. Because look, he's also a player that's been guilty of giving away a lot of stupid, silly passes. You know what I mean? Doing stupid, silly things. So for me, I 100%, I do think we need to have one eye in the future, and I would play Tanganga between now and the end of the season. Because look, with Tanganga, whatever he lacks in quality, he'll make up for in hard work and desire and passion and his willingness to improve, his willingness to prove to the players and the team that he should be playing week in, week out. So for me, I would play him at right back. Because look, although he was poor against Newcastle, I have also seen him being good on the ball at times over the last year and a half when he's played. I have seen him being very good on the ball. So he can't do it, but he does need to improve. But the only way of improving is playing him. So I agree. I want to see him start playing more regularly at right back. I don't want to test his steel. Because for me, I do believe we have a good player in Tanganga, lads.
I don't think it helps when you play him alongside Sanchez. Next to Sanchez. If you had Toby there instead of Sanchez, I think it's completely different. He then has sometimes what happens is that Tanganga gets sucked too far into his defensive, mind, his centre back mind, which then means that against Villa especially, they had a lot of players over. But I think it doesn't help, when he's playing alongside Sanchez. Yeah, no, 100%. Look, what do you think's going on with Toby, lads? What do you think's going on with Jose and Toby? Where do you think the trust has been lost somewhere along the line?
For me, I think it's just if you remember, Toby, had that weird clause in his contract and where he could get out of the club for pretty cheap if somebody else came in for him, and nobody did. I think there were some things back in the history too where Toby had some issues with Pochettino as well. But the weird part about it is that then Toby said, he wanted to play for Mourinho and seemed to be, number one on the team sheet for a while. And I just don't know what's going on. I wish we could. Somebody had said earlier that I think it was Cody Mack had said at one point to me, he said, I wish that Amazon was in the back, filming what's going on right now so we could get an insight to what's going on, because, that would be probably more viewed than the first season, right? So, I just think that it's absolutely essential for us to, figure out what's going on, and somebody in the club needs to say something. And I think that Jose Mourinho, and somebody had mentioned this too in one of my early question and answers streams, they said that, maybe Jose's comment about Toby. So Cody Mack has a theory that Toby might be the rat that's talking to the press, and that Jose is trying to flush him out by giving false information intentionally to see if it leaked out or not. But I mean, that's a conspiracy theory right there. But there he is.
Because they said he had a cold, didn't they? Said he was unwell. Sorry, didn't they?
Yeah,
but before that, Mourinho has said that he was going to change the team up to play the players who he believed were real men, or whatever the exact phrase was. So it could be a good theory. I'm buying into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, look,
he's the author of that conspiracy.
But Alistair Gold, he did say he is going to ask him on Friday. He's going to ask him about the situation. So it'll be interesting to hear. Just before we get Sean's opinion, we have a super chat here from Brian C. Big up, Brian C. Absolute legend. Really does help the channel. Everyone else, get your super chats in. Help out. You know what I mean? It really does help the channel and take the pressure off Brian C. and Jordan Stevens and the other guys with the super chat, Spandan Samaran as well. And Brian C. says, might be a risk, but if full group mentality and confidence reset is needed, should we commit to the youth? Example, Roden, Tanganga, Skip, and keep only our players with strong mentality and clear out the rest. And we'll start with you on this one, Sean. What do you think of Brian C.'s comment? Big up Brian C., by the way. Great comment, my man. Comment, super chat today goes to you.
Yeah, I mean, have an investment in the youth is key because, you know, if young lads see that we're invested in the youth, they're going to want to stay at the club and they're going to stay in the youth program for up and uprising youth squad members as well. So, look, one thing I will say, I know we were touching on Tanganga right back as well. Like, look at the age difference between Tanganga and Aurier. I know I'd much rather have Tanganga in there because he is young and he has plenty of time left in him to grow and gain experience, and he's not that far behind either. For a young guy, he is he's incredibly advanced with what he can do compared to Aurier. Though you can see how well Skip's doing week in, week out. I know he didn't really feature too much since he came back from the England game. I think he only got the last few minutes, but I mean that's testament to him again, going off and playing for England with the under-21s, and it shows his promise again for where he can be. And even you heard what Jose says about him as well. You know, it's all promising. I do think it's good that he's getting minutes underneath him, and again, yeah, like that, it's. You have to invest in your youth and you have to commit to it. Like Roden and Tanganga have stepped up this season. They've proved they can come in with the big boys. They've proved they're settled as well when they do come in. You know, still won't forget that Tanganga performance against City. You know, it just really stamped his authority on the game, and against City as well, of all teams. You know what an attacking threat they are. So for a young lad to come in, yeah, I think 100%. Like, yeah, I have to commit to it and commit to it now while you can and get them in and seal them in their positions. And in a year or two, then you're looking at constant first team performances and they're going to be well settled and they will have the experience there. No,
100%. I agree with you. Luke, are you all right to stay on? Because I know you were up at 6 o'clock this morning. You're up again.
No. Let's keep going.
Good. So what do you make on Brian C's comment here then?
Yeah, I think you've got to be careful with merging youth at the right time and how many youth players come in. I think also you have to make sure that they do have the right mentality. I think Rodon, it's hard to call him a youth player, right? He is a young player, but he played at Swansea and has captained Wales before. So I think definitely he has the right mentality. Tanganga and Skip, I think that's kind of where the level should be. And then you phase other players in. Like one of the things I love is when you watch Dane Scarlett, when he comes on and plays for Spurs, he plays with that fear. He comes on, he's the one pressing from the front, trying to win the ball back. And that's what you like to see from a young guy. He definitely got the right mentality. So I think it's important to phase both in, but you can't be too naive and go all for youth because it just won't work.
Yeah, no, look, 100%. Look, for me, I think the idea of Brian's comment is correct in, you can use, as in, bring in Tanganga, Roden, Skip, have them, form a part of the team, but also you're keeping Kane, Son, probably Hugo at this stage, and then reinvesting and bringing players in. But great comment, Brian C. I hope we've given you your 9.99's worth, man. I really do hope you got what you wanted out of the super chat, and thank you so much for it, man. Really do appreciate it. Super chat here from Spandan Samaran Will. He says the defenders don't have the passing range and the panic under pressure. There is no Eriksen-esque player to keep the ball moving. What do you think on that, Will? Big up Spandan Samaran for the super chat, my man.
No, I don't disagree with him, but I'm saying I think he's 100% right, and I think that's the problem that we're discussing here is panic, right? Being comfortable under pressure. Even at I go back to youth football because that's what I spend the majority of my time dealing with it nowadays with young kids myself. But you can see the boys that have, I guess you could say, composure under pressure, and they're the ones that usually end up creating the most chances or converting the most chances. You know, when you see a kid go in and there's a big pile, 2 or 3 boys that are trying to mark him, and then boom, he pops out the other side. I mean, you have to have amazing composure to not immediately, you know, lose it after you get 2 or 3 guys, you know, sticking their leg out at you. And I think that's the problem. Like even Sanchez, he had loads of time. There wasn't anybody within 5 yards of him, and he decided just to, you know, do a wild pass out of the back to try to clear the ball when it would have been just as effective to just tap it out of bounds or take a touch, let the ball come down, take a touch, and then clear it. And, you know, Jan Vertonghen, for all that he was worth, I think that was one of the things that he was best at was composure, right? No fear, you know, completely calm. He would let people get touch tight before he would take clearances, you know, because he had confidence in himself, right? He knew it's almost like he was allowing them to come in order to open up more space for not only himself and others. And I think it's a huge thing. We don't have Eriksson in the midfield to really kind of link that play up and do that. That's true. But I think Ndombele can really play that if he's playing in a number 10 spot. Do I think that and here I'm the one that said that, you know, called out for Lucas Moore to play in the number 10 spot more often. And that's because I thought he's done really well there. But if you're going to switch to more of a possession base versus a high press counterattacking style, a high press possession base versus a high press counterattacking style, then you need to roll, you know, Tongi into that number 10 spot, because he's someone that, you know, even with his back to goal, you can play the ball into him under pressure and he'll be able to turn on anyone. I've never seen, you know, his ability to turn, you know, under pressure, being marked by 1 or 2 men is second to none. And that's where you really got to move him up into that spot if you're gonna try to make that focus or that change. I think Giovanni Lo Celso too, when he's on form, he has the ability to do a lot of that as well.
No, great point. Look, with Lo Celso back from injury now, you could definitely look at maybe putting Lo Celso in beside Højbjerg, because, you know, he does get stuck in as well. You know what I mean? At times he can be better on the ball. You know, just have a word with him and say, look, I need you to be better on the ball, be more composed, make sure your passes, and you could easily push Ndombele into that number 10. So that's a great point, Will. Kev Williams says here, come on Spurs, let's make the most of this season. Big up, Kev Williams. Absolutely agree with that, man. Look, we have a cup final and top 4 is still on. We have United at the weekend. It's the big games. It's the ones you want to be involved with. I can't wait for it personally. We have MS as well. He says only 2 points off 4 on a final. Stop crying, boys. 100%. No, man. Look, we're not crying. We're just bringing up stuff that to talk about. Really, you know, have a discussion on and see what we think. Rob C was absolutely delighted with your analysis, boys. Big up, Rob C, for the super chat, my man. Really do appreciate it. Sergio the setter, he says if we lose to United, but no, don't do that. Definitely don't do that. I hope you're messing. If not, just definitely don't do that. But look, lads, we're going to move on from there. So look, rumours has it that Son is actually expected to sign a new contract. He's supposedly very happy at Tottenham, and he's supposed to sign that new contract before the start of next season. And the hold-up was on Tottenham's end due to uncertainty around revenue streams returning to normal. And we'll start with you, Luke. How big of a news is that? Meaning that we definitely keep hold of Son, and now it's just about getting Kane to come out and say he's staying.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely massive. In the sense of it will shut everybody else up. You know, I never had any doubt, any fear that Son would want to leave Spurs. Look at the way he plays. Look at how he plays. Look at the smile on his face. How he loves the players that he plays with. The passion that he plays playing for Spurs. You know, if that makes any sense, right? You see it week in, week out. You know, and you see that he's just happy and relaxed on the ball, and that's why he's so incredibly good. But it is huge. You know, him signing that contract is huge because it just means that you know we can all say that he's committed. We can all say that he looks happy, but yeah, once he signs that contract, I'll be a very happy man.
Yeah, no, so we'll be like many of millions of others, very relieved. Sean, how important is Son to Tottenham, and how great of a news is it?
Oh, great news, and it's absolutely key. To be honest with you, I don't like the whole idea of it being a hold up on Tottenham's side to do with revenue coming back and shit. I think, man, look, you need to sign this kid. It doesn't matter. Take the hit. You've got fucking millions there. Do you know what I mean? You take the hit for a player like Sonny. You don't say, oh, let's hang on there and see what revenue is going to come in next year. No, get rid of the dead weight, get rid of everything else, and you need to keep Sonny. That's what you need to do, man. There shouldn't be no question. There shouldn't have been a hold-up. It should have been we should have went to Sonny and said, what do you want? We'll give it to you no matter what you want. Here it is. You're going to be key to our title push next year. We want you. What are your demands? We will meet them no matter what, no questions.
Yeah, no, look, I agree with you. It's for me, it's certainly concerning that the hold-up was on our end, considering we make millions year upon year. Will, what do you make of it?
Yeah, you got to come over to your South Korean correspondent here.
Feel free to translate in Korean if for some of our Korean followers as well.
Yeah, I think you got to be careful. I really do. I think that until the name is on that dotted line, I wouldn't count the chickens before they're hatched, to be honest with you, because Son's not the kind of person, nor is it in his culture for him to come out and say a bad word about anyone. So he's always going to say positive things to anyone who asks. It's the difference of what goes on, in his own house between him and his father at nighttime when there's nobody else around. Those are the words that you really need to be hearing if you want to have a good focus on what's going on, or the private conversations that he's having with his new agent, who's really pushing for bigger money. But from a club perspective, I agree. I want to keep Son at Tottenham until he's too old to kick a ball. I mean, I think that, I don't care. There's not, no matter how much money we get for him, there aren't that many left wingers out there with his quality and being as two-footed of a player as he is to be able to accomplish what Son can accomplish in a season. I mean, before Son, how many left wingers did we have that scored, 13 to 15 goals a season with almost as many assists? I mean, I can't think of one, in the last 15 years. So, it's been. I agree. If you're Daniel Levy, you got to say, you don't even give him a contract. You say, you write the contract and I'll sign it, right? Like, you just bring it to my office and I'll sign on the dotted line. I mean, because you can't replace them. There are some players that are irreplaceable. Yeah, you can get somebody who might be able to put in a shift, but over the last couple of years, Eden Hazard has nobody's put up Son's number since Eden Hazard in the Premier League. So
yeah,
I mean, Son, he's playing better than Mane this season. He's playing better than right now. I would say in the Premier League, he's the number one left winger in the Premier League this season. Absolutely, I can't think of anyone who's better.
No, I agree with you. And look, for me personally, I am absolutely delighted. Supposedly staying at Tottenham. I like that. I like Will says, I'm not going to get overly confident until he has signed on that dotted line and the tweet is sent out. I'm not going to be be so confident until it's done, because look, Bayern are still sniffing. But look, for me, he's the Korean king, and I want him to stay at Tottenham. He loves the club, and I love to see players like that who want to be here, who want to play for the club, does everything with the club's best interest at heart. And for me, he's an absolute legend. And just in case he ever does watch it, Son, make sure you sign that contract, man. The Irish Hotspur need you at Tottenham. He needs you. Lads, another thing I want to touch on is Eric Dyer's comments, bizarre comments. He says, I would have my ashes scattered in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. What do you make of that, Luke?
Just a nutcase, isn't he? Like, what made him say that? Like, it's just a ridiculous thing to say, isn't it? Like, it's not like he's. I don't know what made him say it.
I don't know what made him say it, but it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like, first of all, to be honest with you, I don't want his ashes scattered at the stadium, because it's just going to bring bad luck. You know what I mean? I want them scattered on the moon, where he puts all the fucking balls every time he kicks it. What is he talking about? He's talking absolute nonsense.
I can understand if like Ledley King had said that, for example, only ever playing for Spurs, but
Harry Kane.
Yeah, or just someone that's only ever played for Spurs. Yet Eric Dyer, grew up in Portugal and played Sporting out there. So it's a weird comment to make. When we signed him, he wasn't like he was young, but he wasn't, like a youth player or anything like that. So, I don't know. It's absolutely bizarre, isn't it? The guy's clearly, taken something that he shouldn't have done. And
I mean, for me, I think it's just a bit of a tongue-in-cheek type of comment, right? Like he was asked a weird question, and so he just kind of gave a weird answer.
I get that, but it's the delusion that he thinks he's a Spurs legend and that he's actually we might someone at the club would consider that for him, like he's some sort of Spurs legend. It's the delusions of grandeur.
You think that's what it is? You don't think he was just joking?
Look, he could have been joking, but the fact he even thinks that's a possibility. Look, to be honest with you, I don't think he's joking, to be honest. I actually think he's just trying to come out and show how hardcore Tottenham he is, this, that, and the other.
Well, that's too bad for him because he's going to be on the transfer list this summer, so... Is it, where he goes next, he can ship his ashes in from there, and we'll bury him underneath the center spot.
What do you make on Dyer's comments, Sean?
Oh, come on, man. Give me a chance here. Look, for me, I think it's down to getting some media attention. You haven't heard much of him. He hasn't featured much, and it's trying to stay in the loop, You're going to come out with some crazy-ass shit to get your name out there and to still be associated with the team and with the club, and I think that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to claw to the last bit of limelight that he's going to have because he's going to be gone this year. If he's not gone, man, I'll eat my own pants if he's not gone this summer.
I'm holding you that.
I think, I'm holding you that as well.
I won't even watch them.
Well, make sure you don't have a point to make it for. You're playing a dangerous game there, a dicey game.
4/8/2021
that's how confident I am.
6:04 p.m.
He has to go, man. He has to go. End the story. He's just clinging on to the last bit. You won't hear any more from him after next year. I think he's done and dusted with. End the story.
Yeah.
Let you put a little barbecue sauce in those pants before you eat them.
I'll eat them raw, Will. I'll eat them fucking raw, man. No.
No, look, throw a bit of barbecue sauce on it, lad. Get that smoky flavour to it. You know what I mean? But no, look, for me, I just think Eric Dyer has a habit of talking to the press. Like, at one stage he came out and he was like, no, I'm having a good season. I think I'm playing well. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, you stupid man. You're out of the team. You can't kick a ball. You know what I mean? Like, and then he comes out and says, I'd have my ashes scattered at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Like, I think it's like this guy seriously does think.
I think it's like clutching at straws. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's trying to use that comment as a, try and get back into the fans' good books.
Yeah.
In a sense of hoping to save his Spurs career, because it clearly hasn't worked out as well as it wanted under Mourinho.
Even though he attacks our own fans and then tries to get into their good books. Like, come on, man, what are you doing? You don't shit where you eat. Like, you should know that.
No, look, if that is what he's trying to do, I just want to see less of that. I just want to see more action. You know what I mean? Yeah. I want to see him when he actually gets a ball, to be able to pass it 5 yards or, like not as soon as he gets it, just absolutely balloon it into orbit. I'm sick of him. You know what I mean? He's another defender who, when there's a set piece, he switches off. He's standing there. He's like, oh, man, did I record Coronation Street tonight? And the next thing it's like, oh, shit, yeah, I forgot I was defending the corner. He drives me mad. He needs to go. The guy, he needs to stop talking in the press, especially when he's shit. I don't mind, like, Harry Kane coming out and saying that, or a player, who's playing well and that. But someone who's shit, I just don't want to be seeing it. Like, just... Get out my club. What are you talking about? Sergio Tilesetter says, Levy will sell Kane before Son. Asian market. No, look. I agree with you. The money coming out of the Asian market with Son, it's absolutely phenomenal for the club as well. But look, I really don't want him to sell Kane. What worries me is that stuff that was put out before about, we might have to sell one top player to fund the rebuild, this, that, and the other. And now that Son's signing the contract, Luke, do you think it could be Kane?
No, I don't think so. I think I kind of agree in the sense of look at how well Manchester United did, when they started signing, Asian footballers with Park Ji-sung, etc. They broke out into that as a business point of view, shirt sales and other things like that, was incredible. But I don't think it's a case of Son signs a contract and Kane leaves. It wouldn't make good business sense for them to do that. I think we've got to try and keep hold of both and work through selling dead wood, like our right backs and Ben Davis and Eric Dyer and players like that before we start even considering selling the likes of Harry Kane.
No, 100%. I love Shamu's comment here. He says maybe Dyer thinks he's an ultra and not a player, thinking that he can ride his one-man passion train. Yeah, well, look, there's going to be no driver for the train, so he's playing a dangerous game. Kev Williams says, it's a weird comment from Dyer. It's creepy. Yeah, no, it's very dark. It's very dark. I need to find out the question, to be honest with you. I'll come back the next stream, the fan show. I'll find out what the question was for you. But no, look, I don't know. It's just a bit weird. It's just a bit weird.
I have a question for you if you don't have something else to talk about.
Sorry?
I have a question that's semi-related if you guys don't have something immediately to go into.
No, go on. What is it?
What is your guys' take along this, mental fragility? But what do you think also? Do you think that the club's medical departments are really doing a good job? Because there should already be somebody at the club there for, mental, someone for them to talk to and, this, that, and the other thing. And or two, why do you think that a lot of players coming from leagues outside of the UK just immediately, as soon as they come in, just start struggling with these little nagging, injuries and muscular injuries and stuff like that? What are these clubs missing as far as recovery and health is concerned, that not just on the mental side but on the physical side as well?
Luke, we'll let you take that first.
Thanks, mate. Look, first of all, the injury things, I think it's just people always do talk about the Premier League being a lot more physical, and there's a lot of all of the teams are of a very decent standard, rather than you go into separate leagues abroad and not all of the teams within that league are as of a high quality of standard. Not saying that the likes of West Brom are that good, but you get what I mean. In terms of that sports psychology thing, of course, there are people at clubs that, they can talk to. Obviously, first and foremost, they have the player liaison officers, and then obviously there are other people they can speak to, but I don't think they necessarily have a dedicated psychologist or somebody that they can talk to, or maybe they just don't want to talk to them. But on the flip side of that, there should be a mandatory weekly meeting, or should be something to do with that, to be able to hopefully try and change these players' mentality. Look, it's not just Spurs, right, that do this. Arsenal are doing it at the moment. There are a lot of other clubs that are faltering mentally when it comes to winning these important games. Arsenal managed to show up against us, but they by far did not show up against Liverpool the other week. So I think it's something they have to definitely implement it into. Is
it maybe like a bias, like locally there, like in the UK? Is there like some kind of stigma against seeking out mental health?
Yeah, I think so. 100%. Yeah. 100%.
Because like here in the United States, professional athletes, like usually in their entourage, always have their own.
Yeah.
They call them a sports performance psychologist.
Yeah.
See, like Tiger Woods or LeBron James, like everybody has these performance psychologists. All the top athletes here in the United States have somebody that they go to and talk to on a regular basis in order to help them improve their game. It's like it's part of their own.
Yeah,
I do think when it comes to Premier League, like especially look, football in England or the UK in general, that players, they're seen as these macho type of figures. They don't really speak about their problems or go to psychologists. And look, I've listened to many former players over the years on podcasts and doing interviews and stuff like that, and it's just not something they do. It's just not something they do. They just won't open up and speak to people. They take everything on themselves. That's my opinion on it, Sean. What do you make?
Yeah, it's like prison. You're not going to go in there and you're not going to like start crying in prison because you're going to be made into this little bitch. I think I can't even remember what part of a book it was or something, but I remember it could have been something to do with Chelsea or something. I remember one of the players coming in and actually slapping another lad in the face with his own flute. And I was like, wow, that is utterly degrading, like to have that happen to you in front of your own teammates and stuff. And I cannot remember. Could have been something to do with Chelsea or something, maybe. I'm not too sure. But I remember that being in part of a book. And I was like, oh, man, So I think anyway that no matter what, you should be able to go and talk to somebody if you need to go and talk to somebody. Like, as a team, you should all be there to support each other. So in regards to mentally, like, yeah, you should be able to go to talk to somebody.
But for us here, it's not about when you have a problem. You go regardless. It's part of your performance. It's just like your weight training, but in the off season, it's like your diet. It's like, the amount of, the strength and conditioning and injury, preventive, exercises that you're doing. It's part of that aspect. Like even my son's club has a group one for the whole club. Yeah. But we don't really go to that because I have one for him on his own. It's called the Soccer Mentor Program. And it's a big group of kids who play at a high level in the United States, and they have a coach talks to them about, he does meditation and keeps a diary and he reads his vision every day. And, they talk about having an alter ego. So even if you're a nice kid at home, as soon as you step foot on the pitch, you turn into kind of that, the player that Jose Mourinho wants. I mean, even at the age of 13 here. So, I mean, it's a big part of our society now. And I just, when I kind of heard the topic and what you guys were talking about earlier, I just thought it was kind of funny that wasn't already a part of every professional athlete's experience there, because it really is here.
I think that's kind of to do with the whole power of positive thinking. It's to change your mentality of ways in different situations, like to make you a glass half full kind of guy. So when you go in, that's what you're thinking. You're not going to end up in a situation like Lamella. Who do I pass to? What do I do? So I think that's kind of more a sense as what that's doing, rather than actually like trying to make you better in performance wise. I think it's more changing your mentality to the way that you think of things, so that it and trust me, like that will actually effectively then push you on, because you'll have the confidence to go and do it. So it will push your abilities further, but in a way it's only changing your mindset to the way that you think. And the earlier you do that, the easier it is to have that train of thought planted in your head. So no matter what way you go in the future, you're still going to be thinking positive, and you're going to be driving yourself on, which will make you in turn a better athlete.
And I think that's what we're lacking right now, though, is staying positive, right? I mean, you got too many players, kicking the dust and being upset with themselves and or crying because Jose said, something mean about him in the press. Well, if you already have a strong mentality, you should be brushing that off like water, in my opinion, if you already have that strong mentality of staying positive all the time, right?
Well, you have to be able to learn to, like, say the defeat against Zagreb was horrific, but the next day there has to be a little bit of hurt. But the next day you have, like for me on my stream, right? I basically just said, this is a positive thing, because now we have only the top 4 race to focus on. The Carabao Cup final puts in a much better position than we were before. We can't sit there and say, oh, we should have won the Europa League. It's over. It's done. Do you know what I mean? That mistake was made. And that's what these players have to be able to do by, getting these regular visits to the psychologist. Sorry, do you want to say something?
I just had like an epiphany. And do you think that maybe that some of the mentality, especially some of the older players that we've had, maybe comes from Pochettino? If you really look at his mentality and how devastated he was at the loss and how much that affected him mentally, right? And that sometimes maybe that weak mental attitude of, I've lost, or, that we can't do this, that kind of just leaked into those players after that Champions League final loss. Because, I mean, it according to Poch himself, it took him a good, 5 or 6 months to get over it.
Yeah. No, look, I definitely say it has taken its toll on these players. You know what I mean? I do think you know, a lot of the players that you see gone stale now, the likes of Sissoko, Weeks, you know, players like that, look, you know, it's probably the greatest stage they're ever going to be on, and they'll probably never, ever get back there again. I do think, you know, it is. But then I don't want players like that at my club, Will, to be honest with you. I want players like, you know, that, okay, dust yourselves down, off we roll, we go again. You know what I mean? We get back there. Not players that have that mentality. And look, great comment here from Brian C. He says, don't a lot of GAA and rugby teams use psychologists routinely? No, look, they all do. For me, look, it's weird because we've gone through an era where you never need a sports psychologist. Men were men. They were able to get themselves up for a game, get out there, put everything in, put whatever's going on to a side, get out there, focus on the job, go home and deal with it. And then now we've gone, like, you know, into an era where, you know, we're needing people to speak to about the issues, and we're needing people to come in and help us get up for games and stuff like this, and put positive mindset into your mind. But I'm not being funny, like, that does show weak mentality as well. You know what I mean? And it does show a bad mentality. And for me, I do think if you do have to bring in someone to try and fix the mentality at this club, but it just goes to show then that we are signing the wrong type of personalities into the team. And it's not going to improve until you sign the people with the right mentality, because I'm not being funny. I don't need someone to, you know, tickle my balls and slap me on the ass before I come on the stream and get me to be positive and everything else. You know what I mean? I can do it myself. And I get a lot of these players, you know, they can be, you know, they have a lot of pressures and everything else, but, you know, just deal with it. Deal with it like most other people do. You shouldn't need a psychologist to come in and tell you that you're a good player, to get you up for games, to put you in a positive mindset.
Yeah, but it is interesting. But, like, sorry, I just interrupted everyone then.
No, go on.
But, like, you know, without speaking personally, like, it took me to speak to somebody to realize the potential that I have in my day-to-day life, work, etc. And since then, and since doing, you know, different things every morning, it's actually made me progress in my career better than I would have done before. So I definitely think that some people are born with a strong mentality and a winner's mentality and the ability to be able to look positively on life and things like that. Some people aren't. And so for those people that aren't, that is key and crucial to them to be able to transform themselves. I mentioned Harry Kane before. You know, he was able, whether he has somebody in his entourage, I don't know, but he was able to you know, transform himself into this absolute superstar. Definitely wasn't the likes of Tim Sherwood, you know, being able to do it. He just gave him the platform, you know, by giving him the minutes to be able to push himself. It was those extra hours after training. It was whatever he's doing behind the scenes at home. It was all of those things. So I think for those that need that you know, ability to be able to produce positive mentality, then of course they should have it. But then there are players that don't require it. So I don't think it's necessarily just signing players that already have it.
Yeah, so for us here in the US, it's not about getting yourself up to go do whatever. It's literally a part of your performance aspect, right? Like Cody says here, it has nothing to do with you being weak. It has something to do with it that helps you how to focus, how to recover in high pressure situations, how to keep your cool. They're teaching you methods. It's almost like the same way that you're teaching somebody, how to do a knuckleball, right? You're teaching them the methods in order to how to strike that. They're teaching you the mental aspects on how to improve your performance. And once you've built that structure, it's kind of like a preventative thing. It keeps you from feeling down or feeling worthless or any of those things. Like even in my son, he would miss a shot and he would flap his arms around, and it would take him a good, a minute and a half to 2 minutes to get back into the game after making a mistake or missing a shot or doing something like that. Where now it's like, he'll kick the dirt, but then he's right back in it. His head immediately goes back into focus, and he's able to recover from his mistakes far quicker. And because of that, he makes less mistakes. And I think that's what we use these for here. It's really not about, somebody hyping you up and patting your bottom and telling them, you're good enough, you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people love you. You know what I mean? It's more of a performance oriented focus rather than, I guess you could say self-esteem type of thing.
Yeah, no, I can get what you're saying. So like that's more of a life coach than anything really, than a psychologist really, isn't it?
Yeah, sports performance psychologist is what they call them here. So it's to help your performance. It's to help you perform better. It's to help your mental fortitude, to teach you techniques and tactics and, meditating on what you have to do, imagining what you're going to do before the game. I think a lot of the times, a lot of players, and you can tell, like, if you're goofing around too much, if you're not focused on the game, if you're not serious, like, I mean, I think of Dele Alli, I think that's some of his problems. He's too carefree. So his mind, he's not focused. And all of those individual mistakes that we're leaking are coming off from a lack of focus, right? A lack of slowing down. Like the mentor that my son has, they teach him about how to mentally slow down the game, right? So in a situation of high pressure, you literally slow your mind down. You filter out sounds. You do all of these things so that in that moment, you can have composure and focus on the task at hand rather than worried about the giant kid who's running at you at full speed, who's about to put the ball on you, right? They try to teach you how to, especially for my son being a small kid, that was something he really lacked. Bigger kids coming in, especially in this age where you got some boys with beards and mustaches and some boys that don't even have hair on their legs yet, right? I mean, there's a big difference at 13, but, when he's got someone twice his size, who's twice as fast as him, just bearing down on him, it's normal to remove yourself from a tackle or not go in for a tackle or to, take a bad touch quickly in order to not get hammered. But if you're able to slow yourself down and really think and imagine and your focus on what you're doing, you can get away with it without getting hurt. So I think that's really what we're lacking in a lot of these players, is that they don't take it serious. They lose focus. And if you lose focus, you're dead, especially when in professional sports where the margins are 0.1, 0.2, 0.3%.
Look here, Will, man, I completely agree with you. I know I just want to touch on this really quickly, David, because David will tell you, because me and David used to play soccer together. I used to be one of those type of guys that would pull out of a tackle, and Dave did pull me over and was like, Mitch, man, you're not going to
put you up against the wall sometimes, lad.
Man, again, that was young enough, like, you know what I mean? That was young enough ages, 16, 17, coming into senior leagues, and you're coming up against lads that are fucking 30 and you're 17, 16, like, like that. Man, one thing I will say is, okay, right, you have your coaches there that are going to put it in your head, like, this is what you need to do. But at the end of the day, man, when you're out there, you're on the pitch and you see some lad that's 17 and a half stone coming bellowing towards you, all that mentality goes out the window. You're just looking at this absolute animal that's running towards you, and you're like, you know what, my life isn't worth it. And you just jump out the way. Sometimes it's not built for some people. I do agree, like, if you get it in from a young age and then you can gather that and continue that on for years and it's built into you, then, yeah, absolutely, 100%. I think if you are to bring it into a team like Spurs, where we have people that are in their mid-20s, and then you try to start to initiate this procedure into them, then I think mentally that they've just developed too far along for that to set in. So it might work with some people and then it might not work with some others. So I feel like it's a good idea to get somebody like that into the club, but it's also key to invest in players that already have that mentality to fill in the slots that it's not going to work on those players with.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But that's my point, is they should be doing this with the U7s at the club, not necessarily the first team. I mean, it's good to start with the first team. You might see a little bit of an improvement, but you're not going to see a lot, right? Not like you would. But if they're doing this in the academy from the ages of U7 up, going through these exercises and mental focus and having a vision, like, I'll tell you right now, having a 13-year-old, he was 11 at the time, sit down and write a vision, and they tell you to be super accurate with it. Not just, I want to play in the World Cup, right? That's not a vision. You have to think about, like, the details. So, I mean, my son wrote this vision where it's like, he's sitting on the bus and they're talking about this, that, and the other thing. They're in the locker room, the smells in the locker room, the lights in the locker room, the music that he's listening to in the locker room. Then out on the pitch, this happens and that happens. I mean, literally, really visualizing what you want to achieve and then going out and doing it. Because once you've kind of visualized it in detail, right? Like, I want to win this trophy and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to score this many goals against that team. I'm going to get, I'm going to break this. I'm going to have this many dribbles or doing whatever. If you can really visualize and focus, then when it really happens, it's like all the pressure's gone. Reviewing that vision and kind of setting up that detailed vision for yourself allows you to, just when that actually comes into real time, now your brain is empty of thought and doubt. You can just focus on what you're doing, and it's preparedness. It's really just part of your normal upkeep. It's just like you do with your diet. And, if you're eating pizza and drinking beers the night before a match, you're not going to have the same physical readiness as you would, if you're eating chicken and rice. But mentally too, if you're out the night before drinking and joking and playing video games all night, and then you come in to play a match the next day, you're not going to be as physically ready as somebody who sits down and says, meditates and focuses on what they're doing, writes out a vision for the game the day before. There's a huge performance aspect to this that I think that some
Do you
people
not think that's on the individual though? Because if they're out doing stuff that they shouldn't be before the game, that's on them. That's like they shouldn't need a sports performance person to tell them not to be doing that.
That's the desire, lad. That's what you need. That's the player has to have that desire to know I need to keep my body and my mind in peak physical and mental condition to come out here because I want to be the best that I can be for my team to win what I want to win. And I completely agree with you, lad. That is down to that own person and their individual choices that they make. And if they don't have the right attitude, like what Kev Williams is there, I know you're going to touch on that now. Like that, whatever attitude is an absolute disgrace in football. They shouldn't be part of the team.
Big up, Kev.
Do you know what my problem is with my thoughts are on Dele Alli? It's a little bit of this whatever attitude, but it's also exactly what we were talking about before, what Will was saying, right? About how when something goes wrong in a game for him, it affects him a lot longer than it should do. And you can see that from the way his arms go up. You look, I said about it on my stream the other day, when Harry Kane scores the first goal for us against Newcastle, the pass to him from Lo Celso, I think it was poor, and it goes away from him. His arms go up, but his mind is always thinking, I can score this goal. Something will happen, and if I continue with my run, and exactly what happens, the defenders run into each other, he's able to tap it in the net. If we flip that onto Dele Alli, and he was there in that situation, I can guarantee you, his arms go up, his head turns and looks at the Lo Celso, why was that such shit pass? And he never scores from that situation. So he has got whatever attitude, but at the same time, he it's also about that mental awareness and being able to, not let the small things affect you because you'll get another chance. There'll be another shot. There'll be another pass. There'll be another one-on-one. You just have to keep believing that will come.
Yeah, no, I agree. And big up Kev Williams for the super chat, man. Really do appreciate it. We have another one here from Sergio, title setter. Everyone else, get your super chats in, show your appreciation for the show. And also, it does help the channel grow and get to the very, very top. He says, Winks thinks like that. He is a schoolboy. No, look, Winks is a schoolboy. I don't want to get too much into Winks because he really does annoy me. But lads, two players I want to touch on, two bits of news before we end it off. One is we're being heavily linked to Vestergaard. What do you think on Vestergaard, Will? Can he come in? Will he come in and improve this defence? And is he a player you want at Tottenham?
To be honest with you, I don't know a whole lot about Vestergaard. Only from what I've seen from watching Southampton. The only person I've ever had on my fantasy team from Southampton was Kyle Walker-Peters at the beginning of the season when he was in good form. But from Vestergaard, I'd have to look at it from a mentality. I mean, he's definitely doesn't have the statistics or the performance, I think, to make me really look at him carefully. Like I said, I'm really kind of looking for people full of man smell. That's why for me right now, I can't get off the Varane train. That's where I'm on. But it depends on the price. I don't see him being any worse than some of the Deadwood, but do we want to be adding more Deadwood to the Deadwood? I mean, now granted, a fresh face can sometimes be better than one that's been there for 5 and 6 years, but it's not something that I'm super excited about.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. To be honest with you, I'm not very excited about it either. Kev Williams says there's not enough respect for the club by the players. 100%. I do think that there's an aspect of that as well. Look, they can move on. They're multimillionaires, aren't they? They can move on to any club and still get high rolling wages. Black Eco says the only way to say Spurs and not have the Spursy tag is a total rebuild of the team. Get rid of the clowns in the squad. Levy need to have a frank discussion with Mourinho on this. Yeah, no, I agree. I'd go along with that, Eco. Luke, what do you make on the Vestergaard links?
Yeah, again, it wouldn't be my ideal choice as a centre back, but one of the benefits to it could be because of his height. That would really help us in terms of conceding from set pieces, conceding from crossed balls, which we do seem to have an issue with. So maybe that's why they're looking at Vestergaard. Plus, he's Premier League proven. Who would I go for if we're talking about the exact same stats I've just said? Potentially go for someone, Lewis Dunk or Ben White, somebody like that, because I think they're better players than him. But I think the only reason to look at him is his Premier League capabilities and the fact that he is tall.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Mitch, what's your
me, though?
Sorry?
Is he as tall as me, though?
Oh, he's tall. He's about 11 foot tall, honestly. Let me have a look. I'll find out how tall he is.
I think he's 6'5", if not taller. He should be a basketball player.
Yeah, I'm 6'7", is he?
Oh, it could be 6'7". What do you make, Mitch?
6'6". Sorry.
In between, lad. In between, 6'6". Still tall, man. Still tall. Good for the aerial battles. But it depends if he can jump. You know, that's the big thing.
You don't need to jump at 6'6".
Not in football, you don't. That's a giant in football. I can tell you that right now.
Well, I mean, look, I will be honest. I've seen little Dave Harris here, absolutely 5 foot nothing, pop up at a corner at the back post after absolutely climbing over everyone to win a header and to score a goal.
That's mentality, lad. That's what you call mentality, man.
That's it. It's having the desire to leap 8 feet into the air when you're only about 5 foot high anyway. So, you know, yeah, look, I think, man, he has the experience of the Premier League, which, you know, you see European players come into the Premier League and fail miserably. It's hard to adapt and to get in. So I think for your Varane comment, Will, yeah, he's a great player, but it all depends on how he'd settle in with the Premier League. You know, would you rather take a risk on Varane to come in and see how he settles in, or would you go with somebody that's a little bit lower down in the team, in the league, and has the experience there, that knows what other players are like already, that he's going to be coming up against week in, week out?
But then I
just before we last
center
I just want to send out quickly a message to Dotio Fellman. He says, Harris, I'm sure Winks would love for you to have him on the show. Look, I actually wouldn't have Harry Winks on the show, to be honest with you. And that I genuinely wouldn't. What am I going to ask him about? Losing possession, passing sideways, not tackling? I don't know. Make me a list, Dottie. I'll ask him the questions. Sorry, Will. Sorry to crash you. I just had to send out a message.
No, that's fine. No, I'm saying otherwise there would be others, you know, Premier League center backs that I'd be or other defenders I'd be moving in for before Vestergaard, though. That's what I'm saying. He wouldn't even be my first choice in the Premier League. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So if I got to go for somebody, and I mean for somebody like Varane, as far as center backs go, I think that La Liga is can get pretty gritty. I mean, look at Sergio Ramos and some of the stuff that he tackles and stuff that he puts on. So I think that you can have players coming out of especially in that position. I don't like midfielders out of La Liga for some reason. To me, a lot of them seem to be a little slow. But I think defensively, a lot of them can be. I mean, look at Atletico Madrid. You know, I think you can get a lot of good, you know, defending players out of La Liga. Italy as well. So.
Yeah. Question here from Kev Williams. He says, question for the panel, please, David. Have Spurs given Doherty the best chance to hit the ground running as he was playing in a back three at Wolves? Look, first of all, they should never have signed a right wing back for a right back. So you'd say no, but at the end of the day, look, I can't excuse his performances either. and I'm ashamed that he's the flag bearer for Ireland at Tottenham, to be honest with you. But we'll give this one to Luke, and we'll pass it around the panel.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think why sign a right wing back if he doesn't have the ability to play right back? No one was born a right wing back. Everyone was a right back who got transformed into a right wing back. So I'm sure he has the ability to play right back. I think he's been unfortunate with game time, but, at the highest level, which, Spurs are compared to Wolves, you don't get time to be able to settle, to be able to feel your way into the team. I think he's had enough chances at Spurs, in my opinion.
No, 100%. And Holly says, David, when's your birthday? I'm looking for a new home for Winksy. Look, my birthday is actually November 4th. But genuinely, the best gift you can give me is keeping it, Holly. That's the best gift you can give me for my birthday.
If you ever lose a forfeit, I'm sending you a Winksell.
Oh, no, look, I honestly, I just can't.
You have to hold it for a whole stream. So,
Spandan Samaran says Bale versus Lingard, time taken to make an impact. Yeah, no, that's it's fair enough. Like, if you do think about, Lingard did kind of hit the ground running, and you know what I mean. It didn't take him as long as Bale. You know what I mean. And he was out of the United side. That's a fair point. Spandan Samaran, really, thank you so much for the super chat, lads. Last player I want to touch on is apparently Spurs maybe a loan bid for Coutinho, similar to the Gareth Bale deal. What do you think on that? We'll start with Luke and go around the panel again.
I don't know. He's decent curled shot, isn't he, from outside the box? Coutinho. But I don't know. It's not one for me. I think we need to move on from this signing old players who have had their time in the Premier League that have moved on. Maybe hasn't worked out the best for them, and now they're going to look for a way back in. Some load time at Spurs will do. It happens every time. Gareth Bale happened, when they tried to talk about Eriksen. Now they're talking about Coutinho again, probably for the third window in a row. So no, not for me.
Mitch?
Completely agree with Luke. Like, you might as well just sign Eriksen back. It's like that for me. I personally don't rate him. I really don't. Like, anybody that has gone from the Premier League out into Europe and has failed in Europe when you would rate the Premier League to be of a higher standard overall compared to Europe, like, it's just utter failure. There's no point. I wouldn't even waste my time.
I'd take him.
Yeah.
He's only 28. Where he's done best is where he's doesn't have anyone to compete for that spot with. I think that's the problem that he's had, is he hasn't had a lot of game times. Like, for instance, this past season, he's only made 12 performances. In injury wise, over the last couple of months, he's had a pretty significant injury. But he's not super old. I just don't think that. I think he did okay at Bayern Munich. And for what we have right now in the number 10 spot, I think it's an upgrade. I really do. Especially because what we're lacking right now is somebody who can shoot outside the box.
Yeah.
Well, just a question on that. Like, I just noticed you said there, like, where he's done best is where he has no competition for a place. Does that not show he lacks something that, it's anybody else to compete with for a slot? Like, what do you have to go up against? Of course, you're going to be rated incredible if there's nobody else competing for your spot. The fact that you move out, you go into another team where you have competition there, you fail to make an impact. Like, to me, that just shows that you're not worth the money that they've paid for you. You're not worth to be that player if you can't come into a team. Like, one thing I've done anyway, I've played for a couple of different clubs. Like, it's only Sunday League, but no matter what, I've always gone in and I've said, even preseason, anything, I said, I'm coming in here, I'm going to make my mark, and I want that position, and that's what I want to do. It just seems like he's kind of come in and he just come in, really. Like, how many, like you said, how many games has he got?
He shouldn't need to be cuddled.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? He should have that. He should have the ability to be there, to be starting week in, week out. If you just go to a club where nobody else is playing in that position, you're going to get all the game time you want. You know, you're going to be able to create something if you're playing 30, 40 fucking games a season. No problem. You're going to create something. Somebody has to create something, like if you're playing all the time. So, like, to have him to go in and to just do nothing, literally just arrive. I mean, I wouldn't take him. I wouldn't take him at my club anyway.
Well, I mean, just look at Bayern Munich and when he played, because he played quite a bit in the midfield for Bayern last season and what they did in the Champions League, and then they're going and losing, 3-0 to PSG this year without him. I mean,
scored against us, didn't he? I think.
Yeah. So I mean,
but then everyone scored against us that day. So.
Yeah,
the whole team.
Come on, Luke.
Mourinho only scores against Tottenham as well.
I think he scored 2 against us in that 7-2. I think it was him and Lewandowski that had it. But
if you concede 7 goals, man, the goalkeeper might as well have had one as well. If it's like that, anybody could have scored that day.
But that was all in the second half too.
Well, in fairness, fucking Narby had a cracking game. Like, that was.
And then tweeted directly after, didn't he, saying North London is red?
Yeah,
he's an absolute prick.
Cheeky arsehole.
Yeah, I mean, it was just. I just think that for what we have right now, I think he would be an upgrade if he can stay fit. If we're talking like a season-long loan, like especially if this summer is going to be tight. Say all we buy is defenders, and we don't have the money to bring in any midfielders, but we can get him in on loan if Bale's going out. Because he can play on the left, central, and on the right in the midfield. So.
I suppose it depends on the deal as well. Like if the wages are structured well, because he's not going to be cheap in terms of we have to pay 100% of his wages. Benefit to Bale is obviously the fact that we're only paying 40% of his.
Oh, I'm sure Levy would work something out.
So. Yeah. Look, I don't think I'd complain, but I think it has to always go back to we need to look at some kind of permanent position as opposed to seeing somebody such as Coutinho and thinking, do you know what? He did it once for Liverpool and he did all right at Bayern. He can't, get a regular spot where he's at. So let's get him on loan.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, this whole loan system thing, and look at the difficulties that it's causing Arsenal this season, or even us too. When once Gareth Bale leaves on the right hand side, who's going to play right wing? It's like when your car needs new tires, but instead of getting new tires, you just keep patching the holes that are already there, right? And eventually it's going to blow out, and you're not, you're going to ruin the rim. Not just the tire, but at the rim itself. I mean, you got to replace the tires at some point if the tread's worn. But
look, if it's a case that we have to spend a lot of our money on defenders, then I wouldn't turn down a Coutinho loan deal. I do agree with Will on that sense, but I also agree with Luke and Sean. With Coutinho, he's a has-been in terms of Premier League. You know what I mean? I don't want to keep relying on older Premier League players coming back and stuff like that. And then I agree with Sean. Is he the type of player that we need if he can't compete with someone for the position? But look, ultimately, if he comes in, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to support the team and support him anyway. You know what I mean? I do think it does come down to how much we kind of spend on our defenders and shit like that. Kev Williams says, question: how much will Jose have to spend in the summer? Everyone else, we're going to go for another 5 to 10 minutes. Get your super chats in. Come on, get them in. Show support. Show the love. But we'll start with you, Luke. How much do you think Jose will have to spend in the summer?
I don't know. You've got to be looking at 100 million, but with that, I would take half of that into sale fees. So I would say 50 million cash, and then the other 50 million recouped in player sales.
Mitch?
About £3.50, lad. No, look, I think if we're going to do it, and if Jose is going to get his way, I think with things opening back up and with hopefully getting players having the support back in there from everybody making it into the stadiums again, especially with the test result, hopefully that goes well against City. I don't know. I could see it being big. I don't know what it is. For some reason, I could see it just being like that 1 in a million shot where he could get 120, 150 million to go and to do it right and get it done.
Yeah, no, 100%. And Will?
Yeah, no, I just think that we have a lot of stuff to do, to be honest with you.
100%. Look, Danny Kiriakou, who says £3.50 and a free Skywalk tour. I don't know where I stand on how much we're going to get. To be honest, it's a tough one.
I don't think we're going to get anything.
I hope you're wrong, because it's going to be a very painful summer.
A lot to do.
It's going to be a hard one for all of us content creators to fill as well, if that's the case.
I don't think we'll get anything. I don't think we'll sign a single person this summer.
No, nonsense.
Oh, we have to. Premier Hotspur TV says it's got to be 150 million and back Jose properly, guys.
At least. Big
up Premier Hotspur TV. Everyone get over, check him out. Brilliant guy as well. Big up, Simon. Great time for you, kid. I bet Levy will sack Jose and keep the players. Imagine this scenario. Well, if that's the scenario, honestly, he's big problems on his hands. Lads, last question I'm going to ask is, and then I'm going to let you all go, because I know you all have lives to be living. Is Diabala, you see it come up again? Do you think we actually have a chance, or do you think it's just like trying to fill papers again? We'll start with Luke and go around again.
I think now is the only time it will be possible. I think if Jose wants him, then now is. But again, it all comes down to these other issues. It's not a sense of whether we can afford Dybala or not. It's a sense of whether we're willing to pay all these crazy agent fees and advertising fees. There are like loads of like little fees, but it adds up to a lot of money. So it's not just a matter of paying, what's he going to cost us now? 30, 40 million maybe? I wouldn't suggest a lot more than that. And then you add in another 25-ish million, for example, on those kind of fees. I don't know the exact structure, so someone will look into it and let me know. But there are definitely he's owned by two separate companies or something like that, and they both need paying. It's quite hard to negotiate. So look, if we're going to, you'd either get Dybala or Coutinho. I don't think you'd get both. So I'd 100% go for Dybala.
Yeah, no, he's a player I really like to look of. But again, look, if they couldn't get the contract issue sorted out first time round, I don't see them getting it done second time round. But Sean, what do you think on Dybala?
Yeah, we had the discussion the last time this came around last year, the year before, and I did say, I was like, look, I could see it happening. I really could. I think he's a quality player. He has the flair. He has the ability to create space, and he can pick out passes, man. His vision is incredible. And, I think if we did manage to sign him, not on a stupid fucking 1 year loan deal or anything, it has to be permanent signing with at least a 3-year contract anyway. I can see it happening. I definitely can, because like I said to you, I think Lo Celso could be a shock leave the summer. I think that for me, I think that's just the way it's going to go. The lack of creativity up there that we have at the minute. We see our attack and play. It's nearly direct. Just get the ball and run at them. There's no real little ticky-tacky football, and that's what I think we're lacking. So if anybody has any sort of footballing about them, they'd know that they need to get onto Dybala and sign him up quick.
100%, lad, and will.
Well, I mean, if we get Paulo Dybala in, Holly can get rid of her Harry Wingstall, no problem. Okay, because she can swap him out with a Paulo doll. No, I really like Dybala. I think he's underrated. If it were between Coutinho and Paulo Dybala, I'd go for Paulo Dybala all day long. I mean, he's probably one of my son's most favorite players, so that would make it easy for me. I wouldn't have to watch as many Juventus games as I do now. But yeah, I've been beaten down by Brian Daigle and Victor HM and other people so many times. I've become a lot more cynical than I was probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I agree with Simon that we need 150 million. I think that's a minimum.
Yeah.
And that's a total, that's plus player sales and or whatever the board wants to throw in there. But I think we need to buy at least 3 or 4 people at around 50 million a piece. And then we have a great shot. And as Cody says, I think that this summer is crucial. We're at a crossroad. Yeah. And we're either going to go up the table or we're going to go down the table. We're not going to stay where we're at now. So it really just depends on what Daniel Levy wants to do and whether he sees, because we've been patching holes in the dam for the last 3 or 4 seasons, and that dam's about to burst. So either fix it or you get ready to watch it wash away, because that's where we're at right now, in my opinion.
I think I seen a stat as well the other day that our actual like total spend of money that we've put in transfers. I can't remember if it was 2011 or 2014, and like the net spend was 50 million. Like, so that's what actually came out of our pocket. So after we've sold players and then bought, total amount that has actually been costed to us is 50 million, which is fuck all. Absolutely fuck all. We need to get a good hefty investment in this year, and it has to happen this year. Otherwise, it's just going to keep going down and down and down.
No, 100%. I agree with you. And Mr. K says there, I'm just going to take that because he's a huge, he follows me everywhere and puts in the hashtag Harris Army the whole time. He says, lads, who do you think is going to take Lamella's number 11 number?
Hopefully anyone.
Yeah. I think this whole numbers thing is a big thing, right, to some people, but I don't, it doesn't matter too much, right? As long as we get somebody in to fill certain positions, it's not too, not too relevant which number they take, I suppose.
No, 100%. But look, lads, we are going to end off here now. But I want to give you each a chance to plug your channel. So we're going to go to you, Luke, first for Rivalry Side TV. By the way, big up, Luke. He was up at 6 o'clock this morning. I think he was only expecting to be here for an hour. He's here 2 hours 15. He's up at 6 again in the morning. He's putting an absolute massive shift for me and his channel. By the way, I've been on Rivalry Side TV. What a great channel, lads. Get over, check it out. Smash a like, smash a subscribe on the channel and show them the support. But Luke, you give your channel a plug and tell them what they can expect when they go over there.
Yeah, you've pretty much done it for me, so I appreciate that. But yeah, come check us out. It's rival fans doing different shows. We've got obviously me, Spurs fan, Liverpool fan, West Ham fan, Man United fan, Aston Villa fan, and then we'll have some more coming on. But we do obviously our own shows. So if you like, obviously Spurs, check out my show. But we also do every week to twice a week we do Premier League shows where me and my co-host, we go head to head and predict the Premier League scores. We go through the different games, give our opinions on the different clubs. It's always good to bash Arsenal as well. So come check us out. Make sure you subscribe to this channel first, but head over to ours, make sure you subscribe as well. And love to see you all on there. Cheers for having me on there. Really, really appreciate it, mate.
No problem. Look, I've been so muddled up. The channel's growing quicker than what I expected. Everything got on top of me. And I've had so many people asking me, and I have been meaning to ask you and stuff like that, but I've just been disorganized. I've got a diary. I've got a few copies and pens. I'm now organized. So I'll definitely be seeing a lot more of you on this channel, Luke. And like I said, thank you so much to boys over there. Luke and Ben, the two lads I know, absolutely great lads, top quality lads. So make sure you get over and show them the support and the same love you're showing me. Will, we're going to go to you next because you're the next one with a YouTube channel. Another great channel, by the way, where you can just do rants at, all hours of the night. So over here, if you're up and your kid's awake and you're up after you put the kid back to bed, go on, have a rant with Will, and over the other side of the pond, it's at prime time for you when the kids are in bed and you're sitting down and relaxing. But Will, go on, give your channel a plug and tell them what they can expect.
Yeah, I mean, I owe and again, my apologies earlier this afternoon for coming in on the phone, but sometimes, especially in the middle of the day, duty calls, and so. But yeah, I mean, I have a channel. It's called Will Stewart's THFC Rants. You guys have, all of the people that follow both channels. I think we have quite a similar fan base, and that's great. I love being a part of that, and. I mean, you guys, I'm streaming like 12 hours a week now, which is crazy. I don't
put in the hours anyway.
Don't know, but I'm doing it because there's people that are watching, and it's hard. It's hard for me to even get to get off a 3-hour stream. it's like they just want to keep going. And a lot of my streams end up being like 3 hours and 45 minutes. I can't get off of it. But no, it's all up to these guys here. If you just like to talk about Spurs with just kind of a free open segment, come check us out. We really appreciate a subscription. And thanks for David for letting me come on and talk Spurs.
No problem at all, Will. You're welcome here anytime, my man. You have a home here at the Irish Hotspur. Same goes to you, Luke. But no, look, and Sean, where can we find you? I know you don't have a channel, but you come on, you've started up Twitter. You want to speak to many Spurs fans and stuff like that, and you are open for other channels. So let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, look, I think you have my link for the Twitter in this description, Dave, and you can see it even on your Twitter page. My link's there. Feel free to hit me up if you want. I'm open to chats, discussions, whatever. Absolute thanks very much. Been a pleasure to be on with you guys. Luke, absolute great show. Will, again, top notch. Great discussions, great points had all the time, man. It's just constant. There's no bad content. And looking forward to being on more. And anybody that wants to have me on, feel free to hit me up.
No, there you are. And lads, MS says here, the Irish Hotspur, maybe you can put the guys' channel details on the screen. Look, everything for the guys. You don't even need to type it in. It's all in the description below. All the links to their social media, the YouTube channel, everything you need on the guys. I'm like an FBI agent. It's down there in the description below. So get down there, click it on. It takes 2 minutes. Get over there, smash the subscribe on the channel, smash a like on all their streams, show them the support. And like Will is pointing out, the boys do have their channel names up on the screen. But honestly, I want to say a massive thank you to the panel for giving up their time tonight. I really do appreciate it. I want to say a massive thank you to all the super chatters for your support for the channel. A massive thank you to all the channel members as well. Don't forget the Tottenham fan show tomorrow at 9:30. I want to see the faces behind the names. I want to see you on screen, and I want to see you coming on having a conversation with me. And again, it's about whatever you want to talk about our great club. Also, a massive thank you to the Harris Army and anyone else for tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. Also, when the stream is ended, get your comments in below and let us know what you think of the stream, what you want to see more of, if you have any ideas for me, what your thoughts are about Tottenham. And of course, until next time, stay safe and come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Hey,